It's time for MK Ultra. Come on, babe, let me control your brain. Well, I've seen you and I want you to prove that you're insane, and I'll numb all of your pain. Bring you right back here again. Now where's my midnight climax? I wanna watch you through the glass. I've got connections in high finance, and we can put you on your ass. Have you shooting 8 chance smoking crack? And then we throw you in the trash. LSD and PCP, alcohol and THC deprive you of the sensory. I'm after you, but they are after me, because it's all about total control. We'll relieve you of your soul. And if you really want to know, just scratch the surface and we'll show how far we're willing to go. How far we're willing to go. Now won't you be my project monarch? Make you float like a butterfly. Just like a flower, you'll find your mark. Flap your wings and make it die, like a human pesticide. Yeah, you better run, 'cause you'll never hide. And if you dare discuss the matter, nobody's believe a word. 'Cause we can make the newsroom chatter, just like a mockingbird. Yeah, we'll make you sound absurd. So best not to stray out from the herd. Because it's all about total control. We'll relieve you of your soul. And if you really want to know, just scratch the surface and we'll show how far we're willing to go. How far we're willing to go. How far
Hello, everybody. How we doing, chat? Len the Golden, Twitter's favorite targeted individual, signing in for a very special broadcast today. Um, I'm looking forward to this. I've had this in the tubes for but it's now almost April, so I've had it in the tubes since like February. We've been planning this for a while, so I'm glad to finally be able to bring it to you. We have George from CAVDEF here. Colin, let me unmute them both so that they can hear us in the call. All right, hey guys. We should be able to hear you now.
Hey everyone.
There's like a fan in the background, George. I don't know if that's you or Colin. Let me look here.
Could be my computer fan just going aggressively. I have like 200 tabs open.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. You can put push to talk on. You should get around it. The dangers of live production, folks. Anyway, today we're gonna be watching Indictment, the McMartin Trial, the '95 James Woods movie that is supposedly a large part of why public opinion on the case changed. I mean, there was a pretty aggressive propaganda campaign either way you want to slice it, but this movie did have a significant role in it, definitely. Well, thank you for the gift.
More than that, I mean, it's interesting because some of the preeminent ritual abuse, child abuse debunkers were actually promoting this movie and basically saying this has such a high fidelity to the facts that if you watch it you'll come away knowing that nothing happened at McMartin. So it isn't even an incidental thing. It's practically the same people who we're supposed to believe are the experts about why this case was just a hoax are the same people who are telling you to go see this film. So
Interesting. See, most of what I looked into was the Hollywood reception, which, like, of course, it got a very warm reception there because they're also just abusing kids left, right, and center. As we were talking about Dan Schneider
yeah,
yesterday.
no, I mean this network. I mean the allegations of what happened. Like by some accounts, there were a lot of prominent people in basically all of LA County who were
Yes.
connected to the McMartin School, including some Hollywood people. So, if the case is as big as it was by some accounts, that would be even less surprising.
Well, and that's one of the things that I don't think the movie gets into at all. But there were I think 7 teachers named, and then like 30 people unrelated to the school that were supposedly coming in and out that were identified as well. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, something was going on. There were outside people. Um, but this is a big part of the cover up. Did you know, George, that this was produced or executive produced? Probably just financed. I don't know how that really works. By Oliver Stone.
Yeah, I did know
I
that.
did
It's
not
like
know that
you go
until this
from
week.
JFK to this. It's
Yeah, and JFK is
kind
pretty
of
good.
kind of mind-boggling. Yeah, I mean, I know people will talk about JFK being financed by that Mossad arms dealer guy, Arnon Milchan,
Oh
which,
yeah,
there very plausibly are things of the Kennedy assassination that weren't brought up in the movie. In fact, I know there were. So
definitely. But I think
Oliver
it's a
Stone is always.
it's a good crash course for people. I think, aside from the official narrative of the case.
I liked it. I mean, hell,
Yeah,
I'll admit I still sometimes when I'm imagining like David Ferry, I'll still think of scenes from the movie,
with
and
Pesci. Yeah,
yeah,
that is
it's
right
that
there.
good. But
I felt the same way
I
about the
even
book that I
once.
was tweeting about this week, Department of Truth. It's like, um, it was really fun, but it played really big into what we're covering tonight, which is the Panic Panic. was not. It was
Yeah.
like the government playing into certain propaganda campaigns. Really didn't have anything to do with actual child abuse, which I think is really bullshit. Like, I understand why people they're just inundated with information. Anyway,
Yeah, and I mean,
oh,
sorry, there was a complicated game that was being played, and I think that at some level, the goal, there were people who essentially tried to inflate this as much as possible, pump up as much of the sensational aspects of it, and try to make the case collapse in on itself so you could then sweep in after and, basically say nothing happened. And I think that, these two sort of sides of the debate, the people who, go into it with this incredible, bias towards seeing this, promoting the satanic element and going off on things that they can't back up, and then the people who see nothing happen, they feed each other. And I think that's exactly what was going on to try and cover up what does appear to have been a very large abuse network. I'm not saying the Satanism thing wasn't necessarily true either. I definitely tend to think it was, but the way that the case is talked about and the way that things were promoted at the detriment of actually having a winnable case in court is part of why it fell apart.
all right, we're good. I think let's start start the movie now, because we have like 2 hours 11 minutes. It's gonna take a while to get through.
Oh man, this is a long one.
Yeah, I
All to
didn't
say
realize it
that
was that
nothing.
long, but I think it'll be fun. If at any point you guys have to go, that's fine. Oh, and one other thing before I forget. Any donations we get are going to the International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation today. I decided to pick an organization that is combative towards the False Memory Syndrome Foundation to give my March Twitch revenue to. It's never that much, but it should be like a $50 donation or so. I'm sure they could use it.
Hell, hell yeah.
Let's start. Yeah, it's definitely rooted in anti-communism. They need the like part of the narrative is like a shift from the Red Scare. The Red Scare wasn't winning hearts and minds anymore. I will never activate Windows hacking. It's a scam. Get you to activate Windows. That's how you know it's real.
Yeah, I'm sure they relied real heavily on those court transcripts, especially the ones that talked about the. I mean, we'll get into that, but there's so much that I know they leave out.
Oh yeah. This shit a lot. I think I've heard that before. Oh, it's just a place in Mexico. They got the Hades from Disney's Hercules. That's a big get. You know, it's an idyllic pass because it has sepia filter.
Oh my god. It's the town where nothing could go wrong.
That's right.
Manhattan Beach Police
The
Department.
writer also
Report
wrote a
006799.
Atlanta child murder film that gets a lot of stuff wrong as well. They
Yeah,
focus on the KKK. We were talking about it earlier.
right, and I mean, which probably there was something to it, but conveniently ignoring the large pedophile network that was there in Atlanta that was connected to it. So maybe there's a pattern with this guy.
I do think the weak point for like point of influence was probably the writer, because I looked like some of the careers of some of the people attached to the film.
I haven't. What's that about?
The writer, like, I think it's a woman, if I remember correctly, Abby something, and then she did that Atlanta child murder one, and then her husband was a commander in the Israeli Special Forces. So there's like two possible, either through her filmmaking or through her husband, two possible points of connections for American intelligence.
Yeah, I think Abby Man's a guy, actually.
Is it a
I
guy?
was tripped up on that too. Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't
pretty
look.
sure. Like, I think it. So, Abby Man and Myra Man. I think Myra is his wife.
Then I got it reversed. The wife.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's a very blatant. Like, I think his son was like an IDF, or should I say IOF guy, and
There you go.
point is, it's bad.
Oh, definitely.
DR number 8501713.
Yeah, it's Abby Martin.
Reporting officer Detective J. Hogue. Date of report 8/12/83. Person filing complaint Judy Ann Johnson, Mrs. Report follows. Mrs. Johnson came to the police station approximately 10:30 a.m. with her son Malcolm, aged 2.5 years, and filed a complaint charging child sexual abuse. Reporting officer conducted an interview with
Oh. Myra Man was on the writing credits as well.
the child and
I
with
didn't
his
see
mother.
that.
Mrs. Johnson alleges that her son has been molested.
Yeah,
while
it
attending
was both of
preschool
them,
in
and
Manhattan Beach.
they had a
Complainant
former
reported that her
DA
son
on the
may-
case who was like feeding them information too.
Ooh.
Subject walking from parking lot on campus. Past a group of 12 school children, 6 to 8 years of age. Subject stopped and watched children playing.
They're really trying to play up the angle of like, oh, he was suspected because he was just a little fruity because of the shirt in the 90s. They're definitely.
I mean, it's such a still. There were people, I mean, literally people on the board of the False Memory Syndrome Foundation who were saying, "Oh yeah, it was just feminists who created this panic because they were jealous of men's ability to love other men." That
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's the same guy who said that pedophilia was to be courageously affirmed as God's will. So
Oh, Jesus. That's awful.
yeah, it was so bad even the False Memory Syndrome Foundation kicked him out.
That's a low bar to clear. Yet they still managed to.
Yeah.
Subject was alone, talked to nobody.
The Eyewitness News Feed. From the desert to the sea to all of Southern California, a good evening. Here's the latest at 6 in a case which has been described as one of the most bizarre and shocking ever to involve young children. Reporter Wayne Satz is now able to bring you this extraordinary exclusive story.
The woke mob of the
Tonight's
90s.
story comes out of the mouths of over 60 children, some of them as young as 2 years of age. They have allegedly been keeping a grotesque secret. The secret is they were being sexually molested and made to appear in pornographic films. The children were all attending this preschool.
Hi, it's Kelly. Are you watching this?
I'm
watching it. Tell me when it's over. What
makes their statements even more extraordinary and shocking is that the owner of this preschool is 76-year-old Virginia McMartin, Manhattan Beach's most honored citizen. In fact, this home video was shot at the Chamber of Commerce, giving Virginia McMartin the highest award her community could give.
Watch this.
The Rose and Scroll.
Here, look at this, look. Watch.
To me, there isn't anything that can equal the smile and love of a small child. Forgive me, I go on and on when I get started on my favorite subject, children.
But last year, the mother of one of the students, Judy Johnson, noticed her 2.5-year-old son was having a redness on his bottom and having nightmares. She accused Virginia McMartin's 25-year-old grandson, Raymond Bucky, seen here in this home movie at the school's Halloween parade. The Manhattan Beach police sent letters to parents whose children had attended the McMartin Preschool, asking them to question their children about possible cases of sodomy, oral copulation,
this is the most sickening
fondling,
Yeah, I guess
They're really hammer on the like whole psychic driving angle too. Oh, they were being forced to question about the molestation.
Victoria wants to take this case off his hands.
In which children's
Danny,
clothes
no.
were removed while
Not
they were at
these
school.
people.
The children all replied that nothing had happened. That was until the district attorney took the children to this nationally recognized therapist on child abuse,
Key McFarland of CII, the Children's Institute International. She drew forth horrifying stories of molestation from literally hundreds of children, based on play therapy sessions which she...
I should note that that is not entirely accurate when they say that no child made any disclosures before CII got involved. Actually, there were tons of children who, I mean, I shouldn't say tons, but several children who came forward as early as September of '83 and told the local police very specific stories about Ray Bucky molesting them. This is, something that gets completely removed from the witch hunt coverage of all of this, but it's extensively documented. Ross Tate's book, The Witch Hunt Narrative, has a whole chapter on McMartin, and he talks about this. And there are kids who were coming forward saying things, specifically naming Ray Bucky. There were kids who were, exhibiting bizarre sexual behavior. There was one, little girl who was actually at one point like bending over to her parents and said, and pardon me for this fairly gross thing, but that's exactly what she said. She, bent over, was spreading her cheeks, and said, "Is my hole cute? Ray used to do me like this." So
holy crap.
Yeah, so shit like this is happening as early as a month into the case, and all of that just gets completely swept under the rug to act like this crazy therapist just cooked up a bunch of stories, and it's just against everything. Just the facts are just completely distorted at every turn.
Jim Jones-Un asked if some of them have STDs. I can't remember if that was this or Presidio. Do you remember, George?
So Presidio, I think, was the one where STDs were diagnosed.
I thought that was I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but there was a lot of other medical evidence that came up in this case. A lot of children who had severe scarring, and that was brought up in the trial. And even the defense lawyers were basically conceding, and defense experts conceded that it was valid. So.
Yeah, this is McMartin, not Presidio. You're good, man. All right, let's keep going.
I don't think the depth of terror that can be put into a child should be underestimated. I've been working.
I'll send you guys links to the stream too, so that you can follow chat if you. I'll point out anything big that comes of it.
They said the teachers mutilated animals.
Oh God, the poor
babies. Children of their parents would receive similar treatment. Is it any wonder that they kept silent?
How do you get
Danny, this thing is going to be plastered all over everywhere by tomorrow morning.
I hope so. What a case.
And that way they don't feel the parents will be killed because it's the puppets that are saying it, not them.
Are the children able to...
We've been on this case for weeks, and it still gives me the creeps.
Have you thought about those parents? The guilt, the betrayal they must be feeling? God, they trusted their children to these people. A case like this makes you glad you're a prosecutor.
In the meantime, to the outrage of many parents, Ray Bucky remains a free man. The grand jury...
Okay, Kelly, I'll take it. The case is mine.
You are crazy to take this on, and you are sweaty.
Hey, come on, Grace. Their lawyer's getting rocks thrown through his window, so he chickens out. Channel 7's got him buried already. The odds against him are 50 to 1 the other way. You really...
Woods was corny in like every movie that he was in. But all I remember is Hercules Videodrome in this, so.
You want to see him lynched?
Do you understand?
Yeah, it's
what
like
these people
ironic
did?
that this is the guy who's the crusading hero.
Right.
And also the guy who like comes up on, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's literally in Brink's Pizzagate too, so think this guy stars in a movie about how child abuse claimants are lying is an extra bit of irony. Like, of all the guys you could have gotten, it's James Woods.
I thought it was funny. That was like one of the biggest reasons I was interested in this movie in particular, was that he was starring.
Did to children.
Hey, a client's a client.
I have a friend who swears by cop.
Open the door, please.
Sus.
Open the door, please.
Where's your son, ma'am?
Hey! Look what we got here. Naked dolls, robe, women's underwear.
Wow.
Take a look at that.
It's a new one. Be my baby.
Yeah.
Black cape?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Strange.
Kind of
They're
interesting.
naked. They're all naked here.
Hello, Mr. Davis. Manhattan Beach Police. Your client's just been arrested.
Thanks.
Sorry.
What you do, buddy? What you in here for? Huh? Clowns. Hey.
Yeah, I would not be touching that with bare hands. You know there's skid mark stains in there.
Hey, Clark Kent. Clark Kent, what you in here for, man? Show me your booking slip. Your booking slip. That pink piece of paper they gave you when you got in this place. Come on, put up through the bars, man. Let me see it now. Come on, let me see, man. Come on. Come a little closer, man. Come on. Come on, bring it closer, 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 closer. Get me over here. Whoa! God damn! 56 counts of 288. See? This guy got 56 counts of child molestation. God damn! Hey, you must be that guy in the news. Bucket! Bucket! McMartin, that's you, ain't it? God damn!
Did they put him in Gen Pop? I don't know. You know, George? It seems odd.
No, I don't know offhand. That would be interesting.
Probably just for the movie. We have to look that up afterwards.
Get out! What the hell's the matter with you? You started when you bring that
Whoa. Okay. Congratulations. I hear they had to move you into the celebrity wing with Sean Penn, the Ninja Brothers, and Night Stalker. I'm Danny Davis, your new attorney. Kelly couldn't stand the heat, so he got out of the kitchen. Thank you, Sam.
Night Stalker reference is interesting.
Thank you. Come on, chop chop. Attorney-client privilege. Shut the door. Now, don't worry, kid. I'm the best there is. I haven't left anybody in jail yet. Come on, guys, give me a break, will ya? Come on. Everybody's watching your cage, so here's the deal. You don't talk to anybody. Not anybody. You don't say you did it. You don't say you didn't do it. You just don't talk.
What? Why am I here? I didn't do anything.
Well, congratulations again. You'll be the first innocent client I ever had.
No one in my family has ever been arrested. This'll kill them.
Well, are you kidding with those glasses? You look like a child molester. Get rid of them or it's going to be a short trial.
This is a mind-boggling case. Not only has Ray Bucky been taken into custody, but now they're arresting his mother, 57-year-old Miss Peggy, as she is called by children.
Step back, please.
They're arresting Peggy Ann Bucky, who is Virginia McMartin's granddaughter and Ray Bucky's sister, at Kennedy High School in Newport
Put your hands
Beach.
behind your back, man.
You don't have to do it in front of the
I did not do much research on the plot, but I my understanding is they make it very about like a crusade against the Bucky family in particular.
Yeah, which basically is the witch hunt narrative of this case too.
Right.
It got a bunch of parents and therapists just whipped up the whole community into a frenzy and victimized this poor innocent family.
Oh, that's Henry Thomas from E.T. playing Bucky. I didn't even notice. Raymond Bucky, you mean, right?
They also arrested 62-year-old teacher Betty Rader as she was returning with her granddaughter from a stroll. Mary Ann Jackson, 60, mother of 4 and grandmother of 5. Babette Spitley, mother of 2 who had once worked helping abused children. And, amazingly enough, the grand jury also indicted the 76-year-old owner of the McMartin School, Virginia McMartin.
I said stop this right now! Oh.
Hello, my name is Danny Davis. I'll be representing you for the bail hearing.
Why are we here? How can the police do this?
You're here because you were indicted by a grand jury and the police were well within their rights.
What about our rights?
The parents were afraid something else might happen to their
What do
children.
the TV people think they're doing? That reporter stuck his camera
He's here sometime, Jim.
right in my face.
Wayne Satz, he's the Geraldo of local news, but he's usually not wrong.
What's the matter with everybody? Don't they know children make up stories?
A lot of new research indicates that they don't make up stories about child abuse.
Oh, hogwash.
Well, Los Angeles believes it, and the DA believes that this case is going to win him re-election.
Look at us. Do we look like child molesters?
Does Ted Bundy look like a serial killer?
That's a
You'll
great
need power of attorney
argument.
over your property for your bail hearing. Your bail and your granddaughter's is set at $50,000 apiece.
You want my house and my school.
Your daughter's set at $350,000.
Why should I give you something
And
I
your
worked my whole life
grandson Ray Bucky at $1 million.
She drove a school bus for years to be able to get the money to buy this school.
We've had 2 serial killer references in the script so far. I should keep a counter.
Our neighborhood, she's considered a saint.
In her neighborhood, Joan of Arc was considered a saint, and they burned her at the stake. Just sign here. The X, please.
If you're going to be our lawyer, you can start by getting my grandmother's wheelchair back.
And where did they put my daughter?
There's the man.
Look, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. If you want to stay here forever, then don't sign it. If you'd like to get out on bail in a few days, then please just sign at the X, okay? No physical contact.
That's true. I don't know. We'll count that as 2.5.
Thank you. I'll see what I can do about your wheelchair. Bye.
See a new poll? Number 1 concern?
Child abuse tops crime, I know. Are you surprised?
Boy, you are fast. I've been chasing you all over. Can we work out lower bail in McMartin? Because, hey, my clients aren't a danger to the community, so what's the problem? I mean, that's the only justification for that kind of bail. Am I right? Come on, Stephen, these people never
Aren't the danger to the community. Yeah, okay.
had so much as a parking ticket, for Christ's sake.
These people are monsters, Mr. Davis. Do you actually believe children would make something like this up? I knew it would be someone like you who would take this case. What happened? Did you run out of drug dealers? Listen, I want you to know something. I care passionately about this case. Do your bottom feeding somewhere else.
Don't tell me that you didn't take this case for the exact same reason I did. Because it's a great case. The media are going to be all over it. They're going to be on this thing like
the obvious. You are an opportunist of the worst kind. You're using these little children to aggrandize yourself. They deserve better than that.
Okay, I suspected it at first. I now have it confirmed in my head. I don't have actual confirmation. In my head, it is confirmed. He got the role of Hades because of this. Because this is 95. And Disney's Hercules is 97. and in both movies he's a sleazeball. So there's no way.
I intend to see that they get it.
One other thing. Whatever happened to the presumption of innocence?
I love that fake mustache still, though. It's amazing.
Come.
KSDO Mobile 1 to base. This is Mobile 1 in position. This is KABC signal. Sending tone at plus 10 dB.
He wasn't videoing too. It's just his type.
Connect 1070. This is 1 studio. We are sending a signal. Please confirm you have 1,000. Please confirm you have audio tone. This is KABC News Band 12. We are transmitting color bars and tone. Do you have audio and video?
Shock and disbelief is the reaction in Manhattan Beach today as the horrified parents of former pupils at the McMartin Preschool.
Raymond Bucky also brandished a gun
Deputy
to
District
terrorize
Attorney Lael Rubin says she'll be charging 400 new acts.
It's a parent's nightmare. The person entrusted to
They're
guard...
really making it out to be a media narrative rather than things that the children actually said too right now.
and teach their child suspected of the possibility that children were used for pornography.
source has said that there are huge...
In fact, I did check the comments. Check the top comment. This is a good example of what the media, not checking facts, propagating lies, and they haven't changed. Like, I agree, but this is not an instance of that.
Remember how vulnerable they were feeling during the time they were abused. They need to feel that.
There were some at the very beginning. Anthrax.
The children's stories were told to key McMartin.
It's even better than before.
Yeah, and all this in sweeps week, too.
Here they come.
And here comes Virginia McMartin, who was granted bail 2 weeks ago, along with her granddaughter.
A poll conducted by District Attorney Philip
Also, we almost said mine, or saw mine. They popped in to say goodnight.
Re-election Committee identifies child abuse as the #1 voter concern in the upcoming election.
About such acts as rape, sodomy, oral copulation, and fondling.
Hi, Denise. How are the kids?
Shame on you, Mr. Davis.
It was really interesting because like there's no kids in the courtroom, there's no kids anywhere. I'm assuming the reason is because of child labor law in Hollywood. You never want to have kids on screen if you can avoid it.
There we go. We clear space for the chair up there. Where? Over there.
Hi, I'm here. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Could you, we'll be out of here in just about an hour, okay? So,
Come on, this way.
Get my brother released too, not just us women.
on $1 million bail, one step at a time here. Just sit down. You all right? So I'm going to be 5 or 10 minutes here. I have a few things that I have to present, just a formality, and then we'll have you out of here, and you'll be on your way home, okay?
Perfect typecasting. They could be Buchenwald guards. Look at the old woman.
All rise. Department 100 of the Superior Court of the State of California is now in session. Judge Ronald M. George presiding.
Miss Rubin.
Your Honor, the people moved to deny bail for the defendants.
What did she say?
The Buchenwald reference is kind of interesting because one of the contacts that they used for the trial was or not for the trial, for the script, was someone involved in the Nuremberg trials, who specifically worked with the I think communist stuff. I don't remember the specifics of it, but Buchenwald was a camp where mostly the people that were sent.
We've already set bail.
There have been developments since.
Developments? What developments?
These children and their parents were threatened by the defendants that if they appeared in court as witnesses, they would be killed. These threats make them a serious danger to the public safety.
Where's the proof of this, Your Honor?
I have it in statements by the parents and the children.
I want to talk to those children and verify these things.
You'll get your turn. Continue, Miss Rubin.
Your Honor, the McMartin Preschool was in the business of orchestrating clear and unequivocal child
My mic's
abuse.
cutting out here.
Thank you.
Means that my noise filter's too high.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yesterday, I gotta change the sound.
I would like to, I'd like to begin with Peggy Ann Bucky, the sister of Ray, the daughter of Peggy Bucky, and the granddaughter of Virginia McMartin. This young lady was awarded the Higgins Scholarship for Outstanding Student Teacher of the Year, even to suggest that she be
Good old Danny. Next he'll call her a
routinely
virgin.
granted to felons and murderers.
Do you think allegations of abuse against hundreds of children is any less a danger than, say, the murder of one person?
But there is nothing
Tell me if
more
it cuts
than
out again. I
allegations, Your
think the
I
noise
have
gate
read the
should have
transcripts
fixed
of the
it.
grand jury proceedings, and I believe they demonstrate the broad scope of this conspiracy.
Oh, at Buchenwald, it was not mostly, but Buchenwald is where a lot of communists got sent. And one of the script advisors had communist sympathies and was involved in Nuremberg. So I think that's why the Buchenwald reference is in there.
Denying bail to Miss Bucky, Your Honor, would be more responsive to the media rather than any precedent.
I think that's entirely out of line, Mr. Davis. If there is any case where there is to be no bail in a non-capital case, this is that case.
Yes, Your Honor, but
In the interest of public safety, I deny bail to Raymond Bucky. I also deny bail to Babette Spittler, Betty Rader, Peggy Ann Bucky, and Peggy Bucky.
Your Honor, I beseech you to reconsider.
What happened?
I don't know what happened.
What about my children? What's going on with my children?
I promise you I will take care of this.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis. What are you running away for?
What do you want?
I want you to tell my viewers right here and now that you believe your clients are innocent.
I refer you to their plea. I believe it's not guilty. Cut.
Congratulations, Davis. You just chickened out in front of 5 million people.
You are such an asshole. Thank you. Thank you.
I have with me a man who spent 2 days in the same jail cell as the key figure in the most amazing child molestation case in
Ooh,
history.
nice tattoos. What is he, a Hell's Angel?
George Freeman. What did Ray Bucky tell you?
Bucky told me
Hell's Angels, also notoriously connected to intelligence.
in jail that he'd penetrate the kids with KY jelly so it wouldn't tear them up.
Where does Wayne Satz find these people?
Tell you anything about
He gets the whole thing.
At one point
In the prosecution.
Martin school children have to perform oral copulation on a man.
In the office sewer pipe.
Told him I was in for the same thing he was.
No, the thing is, there's actually this particular guy, this jailhouse informant George Freeman, might not be as non-credible as the movie portrays him. There was actually, in the trial, an interesting exchange where the lawyer Danny Davis, basically spent so long, 6 days cross-examining this guy, in painstaking detail to a point where the judge actually said, you had originally convinced me this guy wasn't credible, but you spent so long trying to pick apart every bit of his story, and that I actually think this conversation with Bucky did happen. So it's I tend
That's
to believe that
interesting.
yeah, the fact, it's probably a case of, this lawyer doth protest him too much, and some of George Freeman's allegations are not just about, Bucky himself, but allegations that Bucky, shipped child pornography to Denmark through a contact that he had in Venice, that he had buried child pornography pictures in South Dakota shortly before he had been arrested back in I think August of 1983. So there are actually important claims made by this guy, George Freeman, pointing to a larger network that are, usually presumed to be false and baseless, but I think there's very likely something to them.
I would say those are probably the most important parts of the claims, even more than the actual occult elements of the abuse. Anything that leads to a network leads to intelligence. I mean, it leads to involvement of people that were involved in a cover up and involved in facilitating this kind of organization in the first place.
Right. I mean, it explains why there would be so many people involved to begin with.
Exactly. Go to bed.
Out of it.
Little kids. I got 5 kids and grandchildren of my own.
I did that education classes.
If I stood in front of a classroom and taught kids how to perform sex acts.
You're gonna have to talk to me. You're gonna have to tell me everything.
You saw my sister. Who can
got
say
him on
that
the
about
headset.
You're gonna have to talk to me. You're gonna have to tell me everything because I'm not gonna stand in front of that court with my dick in my hand waiting for them to throw things at you. Now talk to me.
I said, and I mean, that there will be no surprises. There's nothing.
This is not a frat initiation at San Diego State. There are going to be little children on that stand saying that they were hurt. You have got to be ready for that.
Who could be ready for that?
Hurt by you and your sister.
What do you want me to
and
do?
your
I
grandmother.
can't make things up.
All right. Why would a guy want to work in a preschool with kids?
I like being with kids.
Never answer that question.
Wrong answer.
Hey, Colin.
Mr. Bucky, please tell the court.
Had to fix the mic
why would
issues.
A grown man want to work with preschool children.
It was my grandmother's school.
Wrong. Come on, Ray. Come
Be
on.
near the beach.
No, come on. Better. Come on.
I dropped out of college and I needed a job.
Better. It sucks, but it's better. You know that some of the parents said that you didn't wear underwear at the preschool. You aware of that?
No, I didn't wear underwear underneath my shorts.
So you got your dick hanging out in front of these
No,
mansions.
they're surfer shorts.
Oh,
they're
your little
long.
surfer dick was hanging out. That makes it
It's
better.
a beach community. I mean, is that a crime now?
No, but it's enough to convict you. That's all. You could do about 500 years in jail. Tell me about your relationships with women, okay? How many women have you been to bed with, Ray? Just round numbers, like 20, 30, 50, whatever.
Just one.
Do you mind? One what?
One woman.
How old are you? What, 25 years old? You've been to bed with one woman?
Only one. Is that another crime?
When you're accused of child molesting, everything is a crime. You're a fruit, right? Come on, you like to bite the pillow, right? Come on. Hey, we all thought about it at summer camp. Come on, you can
I'm
go
not.
with me.
Telling.
Okay. Got a little gift for you here, Ray. My name is Ray Bucky. I don't talk. I don't listen. Ray, you gotta stop grinding your teeth. Very unattractive in front of a jury.
You just have to take one look at Bucky and you know he's guilty.
Why aren't we coming up with stuff faster from the investigators on this? We really, really have to move quickly on this.
I know. I'm hoping for something from the names in Virginia's diaries.
Good. There should be a lot of material in 10 years of diaries. Where are we on the tapes?
We're playing catch up. More is coming all the time. Thousands of hours of tapes. Key's working overtime.
When was the last time any of us had any food? What do you say? Greek? Chinese?
Yeah, good idea.
We'll get some takeout, please.
What about pornographic pictures, huh? They've got to be out there somewhere. Get a list of all the photo labs.
By the way...
Oh, and get the FBI to check out dealers in Scandinavia, too.
By the way, this note, Judy Johnson, the original accuser?
Johnson, listen, Glenn, we've got hundreds of kids making accusations now. They've all got to be checked out, and it's all got to be done quickly. Pet stores. Check into pet stores. They're killing all these animals. There's got to be a supplier.
We should probably check this Johnson note out, just to see if this woman is okay. In the note, she seems kind of, well, fragile would be polite.
Yeah, after all she's been through, you're surprised.
I wonder if the defense got this note.
Lost
Why
in
wouldn't they?
Yonkers.
Oh, and check out all the animal labs, too. Good.
At least in the home, you know your child's safe.
Hi there. You must be Malcolm.
Speaking of people who look like a child molester,
Yeah, not a great look for a cop that's on the special victims unit here. He looks like a stage magician from the 1920s, aka child molester.
Mrs. Johnson? I'm Glenn Stevens from the DA's office. I'll be helping you with your testimony. I would like to
Yeah,
speak to
Glenn
your son
Stevens
as well.
is, he's actually the guy who collaborated with the movie producers on this.
Oh, interesting. I wonder,
Yeah.
you would think that collaboration would have got him a slightly better mustache in the final cut, but...
Been through it.
You would think.
Go inside.
Put my drink.
Well, you know, I'll have to speak to him sooner or later. I mean, after all, it was your charges that started this whole case. Your son is our most important witness, Mrs. Johnson.
Several more preschools are being investigated for possible links
Parents
with the
dropping their
McMartins.
children off at the Hickory Tree Preschool in Torrance this morning.
Authorities in Manhattan Beach have raided the Manhattan Ranch.
They're also asking that any parent who has had
The owner of the Greenup School in Northridge has been charged with 16 felony counts of child molestation.
Peninsula Montessori
Police were called in after allegations.
Sheriff Brock said he believed over 1,200 children may have been molested and swapped with children from other schools.
I'm going to
in a
ask
highly
you, this is
organized
about the 1,000th time, for the grand jury transcript and the police report. I mean, if you won't pursue this, we'll conduct our own investigation.
Not while I'm chief of police, you won't. Every minute, somebody's reporting another child molester.
Yeah, it's a good reason for that. You see what happened to Greenup today?
Right and left
Yes,
out
did
there.
you hear what happened again?
I'm really not sure how much evidence
Oh,
there
there's
is.
plenty of evidence. You ever watch the news?
Let's be careful here. Or some innocent people will be hurt.
It's a dirty cut. Was he Danny?
Peggy,
Here,
Peggy,
I'll
I want
fix
you to
it.
try to calm down.
You
You
don't-
can't. No
You
one's gonna.
don't know what it's like here. You don't think anything like this can ever happen to you. I have to go to the infirmary for my medicine, and they have my handcuffs behind my back, and they say words to me. They say they want to hurt me.
I don't know why they put you in general population. All right, we are going to get you moved. I promise.
You seem like a nice man. Who are you?
Dean Gitz is my name. Remember, Judge George called and asked if I wanted to represent you.
How old are you? You look like a kid.
39.
You're much too thin.
Fire crews were called again last night to the site of the former McMartin Preschool in Manhattan Beach. In what is believed to be an arson attempt, the vacant school buildings were...
I like how the only time people in prison are shown in a compassionate light is when they're pedophiles. Well, connected pedophiles, that's why.
I mean, what's funny about that too, clearly in that scene they were just trying to make you feel horrible for this kindly, this middle-aged woman, Peggy Bucky, Ray's mother, but among other bizarre things, she was confronted at one of the trials about the fact that Ray Bucky was literally reading Playboy magazine while he had kids on his lap at the preschool, and she's like, oh, I don't know, that's not weird, it's a popular magazine. Seems
Oh
pretty
my
normal to me."
god.
he reads it for the articles.
Oh, totally.
Look, Stephen King got his start there. Are you telling me that Stephen King, of all people, might be sus? No, thank you.
That'd be crazy.
I think we talked about that before. I don't remember what it was that was found, but yeah.
3 and 4 this morning. The fire was brought under control and there were no casualties. Authorities suspect there may be a link with the ongoing child molestation.
Oh, that's a good point, Sinklord. Yes, they purposely gave her a maternal framing. Playboy Tunnel Edition.
Second time in 2 months. Should have let it burn.
What a mess. Watch out for the puddle.
The windows, look how big they are. You can see right in. We're on the busiest street in town, you can see right in. Anybody could.
They have curtains?
I don't see any.
Think I did it?
What do you think?
Well, when I read Peggy the charges against her, she asked me what a dildo was. The others are the same.
Just in the chat.
Mothers, grandmothers, Christian Scientists. Never as much as a parking ticket. And yet you have these kids saying that they were raped, sodomized, made to do pornography. I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine it happening here, isn't it?
Since so much of my time, nothing shocks me. I don't see any closets. Aren't some of the kids saying that Ray would hide them in a closet when their parents came? Isn't that supposed to be in the tapes?
Did you get anywhere with those tapes?
The other side sees the tapes. Our side flies blind.
I wonder if they're even going to mention the tunnels in this. Again, I did not look at a plot summary, so I don't know.
Doing the best I can. Where are the closets?
Let me show you the interview room. Hi, guys.
Hi. Still busy, I see.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The parents and the kids spread the word around. There's more coming every day. Come in.
How many of your tapes so far?
Over 300.
And how long is each tape?
Anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.
We're going to preliminary next
Crazy.
month. How am I going to look at all of these?
We've indexed every charge on our VCR counter. Sandy?
Fantastic. Let's see.
Let's see. Let's see. Chuck Ross, 2512. The child says, Ray and Peggy touched my penis. Mary Ann, 3271. Mary Ann made me kiss her boobs. 3512. Chuck says he copulated Betty.
Do you have anything on Virginia?
Heather Ross. Here it is, 2665. Virginia would turn her wheelchair around and clap while the naked games were going on.
This is very helpful.
Sometimes takes a while, but the truth always comes out in the end.
Such an unsympathetic framing.
All right, wakey, time to get up. Let's go. Come on, get up. Move it. Get your things together. We're moving you.
Where are we going?
Chop, chop.
You missed the first half hour. It's a 2-hour and 11-minute movie, so you haven't missed too
Chop,
much.
chop. Over here. Come on, that's right. The bag. Pick up the bag. That's right. The items in the bag. Very good. What's happening? Jean, come on over. Help her out here. We're transferring
Where are we going?
you. We're transferring you. Let's go. Come on. Move it.
Will you please tell me where you're taking me?
Right here, 4203. Prisoner transfer time, 3:17 a.m.
Oh! I don't want to have to share a cell with anyone.
In.
Mom! Is that you? Peggy? Dad? It's you? Oh, thank God! Thank God it's you! Oh. It's so awful here. There's this woman in the next cell, and she screams all night long. She screams. Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. I finally have someone to talk to here. Have you seen Ray? Is he all right? How is my baby? They won't tell me.
Good.
Let him go home. I'm so afraid. I'm so worried about him. I'm so worried about all of this.
For God's sake, shut your mother up unless you want them to hear every word.
What are you talking about?
What? They're probably bugging you. You think they put you in the same cell out of the goodness of their hearts? Do they strike you as benevolent people? God,
And they made us take our clothes off and lay on our tummies on the floor. And then they'd tie us up. And I was scared. And they shouted at us and told us to be quiet. She poked me with her
They weren't put in the same cell IRL, were they? That's BS. I don't know.
fingers. And it hurt.
Where did it hurt you?
It hurt in my bottom. And some other men were there as well.
What did they do?
They watched. And took photos. And then Ray would take us to the car wash, and we'd have to take off our clothes in the car. And Ray would be with us in the car, and he would touch us.
These kids are so brave to come forward. The poor little things actually feel guilty themselves for the violations they've suffered. They need all our love and support to help them get through this terrible trauma they've had to endure at the hands of the people they trusted.
Key McFarlane also went on to say that the children's stories have been remarkably consistent since the very first allegations were made nearly 10 months ago.
What is it? What is so important? You know we have a preliminary in 2 weeks. Hey, Malcolm, where's Jude?
I thought it best that you talk to Malcolm alone. Tell him, Malcolm.
He hurt me.
Who hurt you, Malcolm?
Yeah, they give like ridiculous framings of the psychiatrist and like insanely positive framings of the Buckies. It's pretty wild.
He poked me.
Who poked you?
Daddy poked me with a stick in my bottom.
What's a stick, Malcolm?
This is a stick.
Where did it happen?
In the bath. Daddy took a bath with me.
Did Mommy tell you to say bad things about Daddy?
No.
Why don't you, go into your mom, hmm?
Oh hell yeah, we're at 37 minutes in. We're starting to get the kids be lying angle.
Thanks, buddy.
Do you really believe this is what happened?
What choice do I have?
Could there be some other explanation? Come on, Jane, is there?
Well, he filed for divorce.
Well, there it is. Judy doesn't work. She doesn't have anything. This is her way of getting even, maybe even getting a little money.
We have to file charges against the father.
The classic old women get their kids to make up child abuse and hurt those poor innocent ex-husbands.
Which is also like an FMSF talking point.
Yeah, there was, I mean, it's a thing that actually, Elizabeth Loftus is actually connected to this whole, I forget what the term is, but basically, that a lot of fathers these days, who are accused of child abuse, in custody proceedings, they flip that back on the mother and they claim the mother is doing what's called parental alienation. Just remember the term. And
yeah,
as soon as that happens, it basically, puts every aspect of the abuse claim is, presumptively suspect in the eyes of the court, and they'll even, sometimes remove these kids. They'll, bring them, force them to go to these camps where they're effectively brainwashed into believing that their abuse didn't happen, and that brainwashing includes being shown tapes of Elizabeth Loftus, a False Memory Syndrome Foundation member, talking about why you can't trust your own memories. So, I mean, it's an obvious bullshit line, and if it is true that Glenn Stevens was actually advocating for that, that might also explain why he went on to collaborate with these movie makers.
Absolutely. Anyone involved in the making of this movie should be drawn and quartered in the town square. Agreed, Reed.
Can't argue.
Yeah. FMSF men's rights activist, the original.
If we do that, the defense will kill us with it. This was the first charge against Ray Bucky. Malcolm was with his father the night before Judy reported he was molested. They'll say that's how this whole thing started.
Well, what do you want to do then? Let the father have visitation again?
No, of course not. Just, tell Judy not to let
father see Malcolm until we can check this out. All right?
Yeah, she is a knockoff Jodie Foster. She's the Timu Judy Foster.
You have no idea what we went through to
Judy
get these
Foster,
tapes.
Jodie Foster.
We have to watch all of them here. They won't let me take them to my office. So I need you guys to help me out. I want you to take notes on each child, write down every single thing you can remember about him or her. First kid we're seeing is Jonathan Lawson. Okay.
We can skip him. I came to the school after he was gone.
Well, I think this tape is going to show that he remembers you. So let's refresh your recollection, as they say in the courtroom.
I've got some really crazy-looking dolls to show you. These are as nutty as anything.
Oh, come on.
Wow, that's weird.
What did I miss? Oh, they have genitals.
Wow, that's weird.
Well, and
These
she just
kinda
goes
look
in
like
and straight
cupcakes,
rips the
don't
clothes
they?
off the doll.
She has a belly button. She has hair on her vagina. And this one has a penis. Now I'd like you to look at a picture. You know him, don't you? Remember him?
Oh, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think.
I think.
Now, is he a teacher when you were in
Yes,
school
look at
back
her
then?
implanting memories indeed. If
Yeah.
only it was like, what? It makes MK Ultra look like a total waste of money. You could just ask children to say something.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember when he molested you? Did he look like this doll?
No, I don't think I remember him.
Look at his face.
Oh my god.
No.
Was he around? Maybe back then.
No, I wasn't.
We should do this.
I didn't see him much. Once or
Child
twice.
therapist had this dolls around
The
his
older
office.
kids like you
Wild.
have to help the little kids because they're not as smart as you. And we found out some crummy stuff happened to these little kids. Do you think you might be able to help us out?
Didn't happen to me.
No, it didn't happen to you.
Somehow I can't remember. I'm not sure about it.
Well, sometimes
Oh my god.
some of this stuff is really hard to talk about. And that's why we use puppets. Hi,
They are painting her as the
Snake.
biggest psychopath known to man.
Yeah, seriously.
Some of the kids told us they played yucky games, and the teachers would touch them in some yucky places. Did
This is
something
like doing the
that
Nuremberg trials with puppets. Like, what the hell?
Oh my
happen to
god.
Jonathan?
I can't
To
even.
me, it didn't.
Didn't happen to Jonathan.
No, it didn't happen to me. No, it didn't happen to me.
Didn't happen to me.
Do you guys remember the tickle game?
Tickle game?
Come on, your memory can't be that bad. All your best friends say you played it.
Did
What's
Woody
the matter,
Allen
Snake?
produce
Isn't
this?
your memory as good as theirs?
No, Oliver Stone.
I remember the tickle game.
See? What a good memory.
I thought I had a bad one.
It might be better than you thought. Maybe you could show us how the tickle game was played.
We'd crawl around, and they'd try to get us. They'd go slow and tickle us.
Did he actually?
Was it a
Or is
naked
this a
game
bit?
sometimes?
No, he
They'd
did.
go like this and pull up my t-shirt and tickle my belly. That's all that happened.
That's all that happened?
Yes.
This kid could end up saving your life.
Okay, you guys remember the naked movie star game?
Naked movie star game?
It was sort of a fashion show, I think. Walk across the room, turn around and around.
What did the grown-ups do?
think. I'm not sure. Taking pictures?
Boy, you're really something. Who was taking pictures? We're really trying to test your brain here.
Listen, the music is so sinister.
It was Ray, I know that.
Oh, what? Yeah.
It was Ray, I know that. It was Ray, I know that.
Amazing! Amazing!
It was scary. He told us to hide in a tunnel under the
We got the tunnels!
Tunnels, now we're going.
school. When our moms and dads came, they wouldn't see us. And we were all naked, and we had to do this dance. And Ray, he killed the horse. He hit it, and it died.
What did he hit it with?
A baseball bat. He hit it, and the horse fell down.
Who else was there?
The goat man. And then they took us to the airport, and we flew on a plane.
The airport. Didn't you tell me it was the car wash?
It was the airport, but the plane had no windows.
Queeno. The goat man is a Queeno.
You're free. You're out on bail. Your father's waiting to pick you up in the parking lot.
What, right now?
Right now. Let's go.
What about
I
the
don't
others?
know.
Are
I'd
they
personally be
okay?
more
Not
scared
Ray.
of being let back out into society than Gen Pop at this point. Like, it's been how long?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Like, yeah, and well, the school just got burned down too.
But we expected that. And your mother's
Funny
lawyer
thing
waited.
about that, actually, the thing about the school being burned down, they heavily try to imply that it was just some crazy, crazy parents who did it because they were pissed at the McMartins and they decided to go vigilante justice. But Ross Che talks about it in his book. They actually, at least officially, they found a guy who did it, and it was just some crazy serial arsonist who had no connection to the McMartin parents. So even, it's ironic that the false memory people, they'll make up their own conspiracy theories about what happened, and those are acceptable to talk about. But they're acting high and mighty over the people who might believe that there was a child abuse conspiracy.
No, Woody Allen did a false memory syndrome style defense, Paul. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, they all do that.
Interesting. It was impossible to make the eyebrows
You're right to
believable.
a speedy trial.
Oh my God.
That's all right.
By the way, I said her father is
I'm going
waiting
to be
see
on-
her father, who works for Hughes Aircraft as an engineer.
Interesting.
My own here.
Very normal.
It'll be okay, Mom. You'll be out soon. Leave this comb. Maybe you need it. You'll be okay. Be strong. I love you.
I don't think I can make it here alone.
Good.
That's right.
I don't think I can make it here on my own.
Rest in piss, Bozo.
Bitch, you need this comb. That's great. I love it.
Okay, I'll stay with you.
Yo!
I'll stay.
Rotting Jules. Hello.
I won't let him put
Welcome.
up bail for me, and I can do that. I can stay. Okay?
Just waiting for her to say no. Just waiting. There you go.
You go on.
There we go.
Hurry up before they change their mind. Go on.
Take your damn comb.
Go
He's so
on.
selfless.
Go on.
That's the kind of bravery that you can't see in a real Chomo. That's why we know that she's innocent.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard you say thank you for getting you out. Clearly mistaken.
I can't. I can't. I feel too guilty
Guilty about what?
about leaving everybody behind.
It's not what you should feel guilty about. Or male living spaces.
Today, just weeks after new DA Ira Reiner's taking over the reins for
It's now 11 months since we started bringing you these
We're here
exclusive
today from
reports
the
on
first
sex
child
torture.
witness, a 7-year-old boy, named simply John.
Ira Reiner, who was a friend of Charles Manson, according to coverage back in the 1970, and was lawyer for some of the Manson family members for a time.
Manson, a guy who is also famously probably never abused or anything suspicious.
Right. Yeah, no, nothing bad ever happened to Manson as a childhood, or in his childhood. No, Boys Town related ventures, Telegram Boy related ventures, those are all fictitious.
Yep.
Manson
And,
Boys Town koozie.
God.
Testimony is expected to contain explicit allegations highly damaging to the defense, and the mood here in the courthouse is one of grim anticipation. There is no doubt that feelings about the case run very high
There's some
indeed.
enlightenment occurring clearly in the whole area of child abuse. I just hope that it doesn't lead
That's
to
what you guys
hysteria and
suppress.
contagion.
That's why I paused it.
Please, the lights are hurting her eyes. She's got cataracts.
Come on, what are you doing? Come on, she has cataracts. Didn't you hear
What's going on?
Hey, move that! What are you doing, you son of a bitch? No one told you to defend the devil!
Oh no, and now look, James Wood and the defense is somehow very sympathetic all of a sudden.
Oh yeah. Well, they accused him of defending the devil, so now we know that there's, he couldn't have done anything wrong because this is just a witch hunt,
I mean, either way, I do think James Woods needs to get punched in the face more often.
Hell yeah, George.
In Minecraft.
Oh yeah, in Minecraft. In films, perhaps. Lucian's Greaves top 10 movies for sure. This is in his top 3, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you got what you need?
This scene wasn't planned. They just noticed it was James Woods. Yes, I agree, Krampus. That's what happened. They didn't have to do any blocking. None of this was intentional. You just see James Woods on set. You have to square up.
That's why the acting actually looks so good for once.
As you can see, we've put the press in another room while children testify. They will have to watch us on closed-circuit TV.
Hi, Sean.
How old are you?
7.
Do you know the difference between the truth?
That looks insanely familiar. I gotta look up his IMDb real quick.
You get in big trouble.
Now, Sean, while you were at school, did you ever play any naked games?
Cowboys and Indians? We were the cowboys and they were the Indians, and then they would take us and put us in jail, and then they'd touch us.
Where did they touch you?
In the penis,
Who touched you, Sean?
Ray and Miss Piggy.
Did you ever play any other naked games?
Alligator game.
Could you tell us the names of the people who played the alligator game?
I don't remember.
Oh, well, what other games did you play, Sean?
Naked movie star?
That's right. Did somebody take pictures of you during that game?
Yeah, don't remember.
Now, didn't you tell me that Miss Virginia took the pictures during Naked Movie Star game?
Your Honor,
Leading the witness. Objection.
Objection overruled.
Cries at false memory syndrome.
Sean, did Miss Virginia take the pictures while you played the naked movie star game?
Yes.
Did Ray ever touch you with anything beside his hand?
His penis.
Where did Ray put his penis?
In my penis.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
Morning, Snoopy. I understand your dad calls you Haystack. Why is that?
I don't know.
You think it's because of that little hair that sticks out there, maybe?
Yeah.
Sean, your mommy took you to a place called CII, and there you met a lady named Key, and she showed you some pretty strange dolls.
Yes.
And
is that lawyer
lady,
Charlie's
Key,
pedo uncle from
wanted
It's
to talk
Always
to you
Sunny?
about
Maybe
penis
that's where I
signature.
recognize him from.
Yes.
You think that was kind of
One
funny?
second.
This lady you just met wanted to tell you things like that?
Sorta.
Quick, someone check his hands.
Yeah,
She
check
told
his
you she
hands.
thought that Ray had touched you on the penis, didn't she?
Yes.
And you said no, didn't you?
Yes.
And she just kept asking that same old question.
Well,
didn't
because
she?
the main defense attorney,
And eventually
person,
you said, well,
whoever is the old station manager from Frasier too. She was in a couple episodes.
Oh yeah. Okay. But Andrew Friedman is Charlie's Uncle Jack. Okay, wait.
well, yeah. Ray
Let's go to
touched
his
me on the penis.
95
Objection,
credits.
Sustained.
When you first talked about this, Sean, you didn't remember anybody taking pictures, did you?
No.
And then Mr. Stevens helped you remember that Miss Virginia took pictures.
Yes.
And so you said yes.
No,
Virginia
it is
did.
not him.
Yes.
He does look
And
like
you
him.
did
Maybe
that
that's what I'm
because you knew
getting
he wanted you to
confused.
say that, right?
Yes.
And you thought if you didn't, it would make him sad, right?
Yeah.
You're telling the story that Key wants you to tell.
Yes.
And the story that everybody talks to you about this case would like you to tell.
Yes.
Thanks, Sean.
So it's kind of an indictment that this kid just seems to
Thank
say
you,
yes to
Snoopy.
everything.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, obviously. It doesn't mean anything if he's just
yeah, like-
suggesting. Yeah,
Yeah, how does he
Yeah,
not
I
understand
mean-
that cuts both ways?
exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, if you're gonna say kids are, too unreliable to testify about this, you can't say, oh, these answers clearly show that he was just manipulated into a false memory. Be
Right.
definitive for one thing and not the other.
And then we have to rely on the physical evidence of the abuse, which exists. So,
And you don't want to do that.
Right.
Court will recess for 15 minutes.
Sean, did anybody tell you what to say when
Somebody had asked me earlier, like, what I think part of the purpose of McMartin was, and like, in addition to probably playing into other networks, like we talked about before, the idea of blowing up this case under the national spotlight and then dynamiting it undermines other cases like Presidio, where there's even more evidence than there is here, and I think that's worth mentioning as well.
you were in court?
No.
Now, when Mr. Davis asked you if you were saying the things that everybody wanted you to say, you said yes. What did you mean by that?
I said it because I know they wanted me to tell the truth, and I would please them that way.
Thank you. But can I say who it is? I know who you are, but like, I
Witness
don't
will
want
step
to
down.
associate
Court will
your Twitch account with the other account if you don't want me to. I know you have haters like I do.
You did it or
No,
not?
it's good. It's a good trial.
Right.
And to really make your day, during the recess, one of the parents tells the press he's found porno pictures of the kids.
Oh, no.
But no, he says he can't produce them because
Okay,
listen,
data,
there are
yes.
4 cops
Yeah,
from
thank
the
you,
Manhattan
Dana.
Beach Police Department involved in a sex ring. What? I don't know.
You told millions
That would be
of
really
people on
unbelievable.
television
Police departments
Jim here was
involved in
part of a
pedophile ring.
Right. That's not like that's the most frequently reoccurring element in all of these cases.
sex ring.
Next, you're gonna tell me that they're drug
I'll
dealers
say it in
too.
front of him.
Right.
Okay? You said there were pornographic pictures. Either you give them to me, or I'll hold you in custody until you do. But there aren't any pictures, are there? What the hell's the matter with you? Jim here's got high blood pressure as it is without you making up something like that. Why'd you do it?
We got national coverage for an important issue affecting the lives of innocent children. Did you ever hear the term, the end justifies the means?
God.
That's not a term, that's a phrase.
It's true.
Oh, I got it. Check it all off, check it all out.
They're gonna find the code.
You're not supposed to bring anything back from court. It was just something my mother made. She crocheted it for me. Okay, take your clothes off.
Oh, it is.
Is that Charlie's mom?
It is Charlie's mom. We finally have our Always Sunny connection.
All of them. Hurry up, hurry up.
Or Mac's mom. Yeah, Mac's mom.
Hurry up. Give it to me. You have to go over every cavity. Okay, now. Pull your ears towards me.
Hey. Watching the McMartin Preschool case.
Shake your hair. Pull up your stomach. Okay. Now, bend over.
Folks, you can't say that on Twitch.
Pull open your vagina.
Yep, right here.
Do we have to keep lugging the school stuff around? Can't we get rid of it? This is the 6th time we've had to move it.
I don't think I can even show
Well.
the HBO version of a cavity search. Oh, you'll be done soon.
How can you smile? Doesn't it make you bitter?
Of course it does.
Unlike me, I'm trapped in the endless cycle of repeating summer off and then going back to school every year. It's my samsara.
But who says I can't
See
be
down
bitter
her geriatric
and
tunnel.
still enjoy
And
the
it's
sight
one
of
tunnel
what
that we're
kids
not
play.
we're related to the McMartin case that we're not exploring.
Not interested.
Where did Peggy Ann touch you on your body?
On my dick.
Did you have to touch Peggy Ann?
Yes.
Where?
On her boobs.
Did you have to touch any other part of her body besides her boobs?
Her puss.
Okay,
Did you
the
see
music, like with the dialogue, is just killing me right now. Holy cow!
This is clearly just like, so for this angle, they're like, oh, this kid just wants the opportunity to say swear
Did they
words.
do anything to Peggy Ann?
He would put his dick in her puss.
Did you see Ray do anything to the animals at
This
school?
child actor's
He
really
would
good,
cut the
though.
ears off the rabbits.
Did Ray say anything while he was doing that to the rabbits?
He said it would happen to
Yeah,
our
it's pretty
parents
bad.
if we told any of our secrets.
Did the teachers take you any other place outside of school?
This is another, like, kid testimony. This one they're going to discredit by saying that the kid wants to swear.
Harry's Market.
What happened?
They took us in the storage room and touched us
Here we
on our
go.
dicks and took pictures.
Did you go anyplace else besides the market?
To a
Oh, you
church.
sent me the article?
St. Cross Church.
It's the beginning of a
What
grind
happened at the
chorus
church?
song.
They took us down the aisle, and on the altar they put animals like birds and rabbits and chopped them to pieces.
Alright, we'll read that on stream later.
Who is they, Jonathan?
I saw people wearing black costumes with ropes around their waist. And it would look really scary, and sometimes they have devil suits on.
Devil suits?
Yeah, and we were forced to drink rabbit blood.
Witness, a 10-year-old boy gave perhaps the most terrifying testimony so far.
It was the process. That's right. Bro saw furries. The process are basically
Did you hear what he said?
Zoophiles.
He'll kill us. Sacrifices in a church.
Just take it easy, Christine.
Glenn, Has Ruben been telling Raya the problems we're having?
I don't know.
Well, she told me she would. I mean, if she doesn't, I will.
Told a wrapped courthouse how he was forced to drink the blood of a slaughtered rabbit.
What did you think of Brian's testimony? Do you think there was actually Satanism practiced at the McMartin school?
Can you believe this shit?
When I
Sacrifices, group sex, people walking around in robes. I mean, next they're gonna have some kid telling about the guy they nailed to a cross, or the virgin they sacrificed on the altar. This is getting scary.
What are the odds child actors were molested during the making of this movie? Not zero.
I think this is out.
I mean, James Wood's in it, so at least 2.
I believe
Yeah.
we may be dealing with a nationwide conspiracy
The
of
Bloody
child
Mary is funny.
predators who are operating daycare centers as a cover for child abuse.
Satanism, devil worship, is being practiced all across the country.
We have all types of perversion.
Is cannibalism part of the ritual?
The children have spoken about this in almost every instance.
We're made to chew pieces of these children's hearts, pieces of their flesh.
When parents begin to realize these things are really happening and not just something out of the dark ages, it'll be much more difficult for these people to pull these things off.
When we hear of ritual sacrifices, our reaction is one of horrific avoidance. We say things like, this only happened in the Middle Ages. It does.
They're really trying to make the blood libel connection here, aren't they? With all the talk of the Middle Ages and sacrifices. Is that just me? It feels very like mentioning Simon of Trent without mentioning it, like trying to make your enemies out to be anti-Semites, which is something that I'm not familiar with at all.
Doesn't mean that children are not telling the truth.
So where is your storage room?
I'll show you.
Oh. This is it? But you can see the whole room from the store.
My cashier is over there. He can see everything from the cash register.
And it's always been this way?
Always.
Is there any way what he said could have happened?
Well, our doors are always locked. We had a robbery in the office one night, and the police told us that they wouldn't give us any surveillance unless we kept the doors locked.
Yeah, it's an angry
broken
mob reference too.
No, not without the treasurer, the secretary, or the accountant hearing it from the chapel.
It's a way to reference.
Did you hold the door, please?
Correct. Not all rituals are satanic, and that's why a lot of the ritual abuse is now called like occult ritual abuse, and a lot of the symbology is frequently linked to like racist and white nationalist and Nazi groups. And Satanism shows up a lot, but it's also because a lot of Nazis are Satanists, but not all. Yeah, I've talked about it before, but like more on Twitter than on here, but like 764 shows up a lot, and they're like, they use satanic imagery, but like even more than Satanists, they're Nazis.
Are you sure you can ride in the same elevator as us, Mr. Satz? We might pull out a rabbit and drink its blood. Might take off our clothes and dance around naked.
Miss Bucky, I don't make the news. I just report it. And how do you expect anybody to know your side if you won't tell them what you're feeling and that you're innocent?
You wouldn't be interested in knowing. All you want is Ray Bucky, other animals.
Sorry, no comment.
Virginia McMartin flash kids in a wheelchair. Peggy and Bucky made a 3-year-old child copulator. You couldn't care less about the truth.
No more questions. What were you thinking? Don't you ever do that. Don't ever do that again.
I'm not. This whole thing's a farce. Nothing happened to school. You know it, and he knows it. Somebody has to be the voice of sanity.
I like your witnesses. One of them recants, saying he was making it all up so you wouldn't be sad. The other says he went to St. Cross Church and a rabbit was killed on the altar and he had to drink its blood. What are you trying to do, win your case or audition for Saturday Night Live? Why the hell did you use them?
I'll answer that for Glenn, because they're the best witnesses we have.
What about the tapes?
You have to see them to believe them.
What does that mean?
The kids don't have to say anything. Key McFarlane and Sandy Krebs tell them everything. If they say they weren't molested, they say, well, everybody else said you were, so you must be wrong. And if they say they were molested, say, boy, you're really amazing.
Well, what did you expect? The kids were just going to come out and say, hey, I was raped and sodomized? Especially after they were threatened with harm to their parents?
Let me ask a silly question. Why am I hearing this for the first time? Didn't anybody look at the evidence a long time ago?
These are the prosecutors.
Yes, of course we did, but when we filed the charges, there wasn't time. There was just too much of it. We had to rely on McFarland's laws.
Yes.
Well, aren't they reliable?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
No,
too.
they're not.
What exactly do we have going for us?
We have a confession.
Freeman, the guy who was in the cell with Bucky. Do you believe him?
I don't bring forward witnesses I don't believe in.
I don't like snitches, neither do juries.
Well, they might
That's
not like
pretty
them, but they're
good.
impressed by
Yeah,
them, even
that's
if it's
funny.
only on a subliminal basis.
What about the medical evidence that they were abused?
We can't get any doctor who is independent of CII to corroborate it. No one of stature.
Yeah, that's
Saying
false.
I was gonna say that's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's false in many ways. I mean, there were UCLA experts who came to the same conclusion about some of the kids, and later on at the trials, even the expert that the defense brought in all the way from Britain, I think Dr. David Paul, he actually conceded that many of the signs of abuse that were brought up by the CII experts were credible. He couldn't really dispute it because it was incredibly clear-cut evidence. We're talking, genital scarring, genital lacerations, things that just absolutely do not occur in normal circumstances.
Right.
And there was really no denying it. So I'm not surprised that they're going with this route, but it's completely against the actual record of the trial.
And all of the early accusers were examined by people other than CIA, right?
Yeah, I mean, CII didn't get involved until a few months in, and yeah, I mean, so Judy Johnson's son, who was the first accuser, yeah, he was examined. It was actually a succession of experts that, originally it was, originally it was an ER doctor, and then who, suspected abuse based on what he saw, and then referred them to UCLA, and then the UCLA found recent signs of recent bruising and concluded based on that there was sexual assault. So yeah, it was not just CII, and
Right.
it's the pattern with this case that they want to reduce everything and say that this one coalition of supposedly dubious therapists and non-credible experts is just concocting the whole case, and it's not like that at all.
Right. Yeah, and it is very cringeworthy, but it shows up very commonly in a lot of these cases, Toki. There's a lot of genital injuries because they're having sex with children. That's something that you can't their bodies are not equipped for that. It causes scarring.
I want recommendations. Stevens?
Well, there are problems with the case, but there are other considerations too, like the media.
Please leave them out of it.
I'm developing a reasonable doubt on 6. I say drop the charges against the women.
Are you serious? They molested children.
What about Bucky?
Yeah,
Can
it
we
is
get a
awful.
conviction?
Maybe.
Maybe?
He wasn't even at the school when 4 of the children are saying he molested them.
And the kids' stories are
That
changing.
part
Is
is
it
a
that they
little
were
bit false too. And this is also talked about in Ross Chait's book, that it is true that Ray Bucky was only a full-time teacher starting in 1981, but he was a part-time teacher for at least a couple years before that. And they try to say, oh, he was never there at all, even though he was there doing various odd jobs for, at least as far back as 1980 or I think 1979.
It's also a family daycare. He has access to the
Right.
daycare regardless. It's not really
Yeah.
hugely relevant point when he started working there or not. If he was a child abuser and they had a family-owned daycare, he's gonna be there.
I mean, yeah, considering that the allegation in this case even included being taken off-site and other people being involved beyond the family, yeah, that's not really a strike against the allegations in it by any means.
Peace, Amatome. I'll see you around on Twitter. Hopefully we'll see you at the next big stream.
taken by the teachers to car washes, to mortuaries, to cemeteries, flown in an airplane to Palm Springs. Not one piece of corroboration. Not one person saw them.
All right, look, this office can do what it wants. As far as I'm concerned, I don't intend to drop any of the charges against any of the defendants. I think we have a clear duty here.
But we're not even sure about Bucky.
Look, here is a guy who abuses drugs, who flunked out of almost every school he ever attended, who sits in this preschool day after day with his genitals exposed to these children. And there's something even more significant.
What?
Let me have a picture, Glenn. This is a picture of Bucky at a pyramid convention. You see this woman here? She told investigators she took him to a motel. The woman even paid the tab, and Bucky couldn't get it up.
What does that have to do
Someone
with molesting
followed.
children?
Put it together with the rest of the evidence, Christine.
small
Obviously,
man.
this is a man
Hey.
for whom normal sex is not possible. He had to gratify himself some way. Don't you think this begins to add up?
Maybe.
Clear duty.
But that doesn't explain his mother, his sister, his grandmother.
The old woman in the dark
That's a
glasses?
medical
Look,
condition.
Glenn, you don't think that women are capable of the same desires and the same aberrations as men?
Aberration. That's my MK trigger word.
Philibosian.
Good to see you,
208
man.
counts. Do you think he
Hope you're well.
overthought it? Could be the election had something to do with it, do you think?
All right. Look, just because we're having some trouble with some evidence, that doesn't make these people suddenly innocent. Children don't lie about this kind of thing. There is a smoking gun out there.
Crib is
I
back.
know it. We've just got to
Yeah,
find
that
it.
one works for me, too.
Somebody is going to get drunk and confide in someone. Somebody is going to attempt suicide and leave a note. Somebody is going to find those pornographic pictures. That's all we need. One picture. One.
I'd like to say something.
What is this about, Mrs. McMartin? Please be seated.
You told my lawyer that the county will no longer agree to pay him his fee. I have no more money. They took my school. I have nothing left.
Mr. Bruner knew what he was getting into when he took this case, and he's been paid a large sum of money. He will continue on to the end of the hearing.
I've never accepted charity before, and I don't intend to now.
Then I'll get you another attorney.
I won't talk to him.
Mrs. McMartin, do you have any knowledge of the
that's
law?
I have something more important. I know the children. I've had them all sit on my lap. I
Well, it
think
is my
all of you
decision,
better
and
take
Mr.
a
Bruner will
course
continue
in
on
children.
as your counsel as to not
I
interfere
will
with the
not,
end of
and I
this
will
hearing.
get up and walk out of this courtroom
Mrs.
if you
McMartin,
insist
you
on
will
it.
remain in the courtroom.
Mom,
You'll have to stay, ma'am.
are you going to use force?
Why don't you have a seat?
I will not have a seat. If you wish to use force, do it. You're a little bigger than I am.
You are ordered to sit down or you will be cited for contempt.
Please, Your Honor.
Put me in jail.
Your Honor.
I've been in your jail. I know what terrible places they are.
Mom, you want to go to jail? You wouldn't be able to stand it, and you know it. You do not want to go to
Mrs.
jail.
McMartin.
Please, Your Honor.
I know how you feel, but this is not the way. Don't make things worse for your family, please.
Graham?
Pull it womp womp. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'll be live a lot more often once,
Whoa. Who is this? Judy? What happened?
summer rolls
What-
around.
Is Malcolm okay?
He's all right for now, but the dog's behind his rib too. And it's missing hair there too.
Judy, are you trying to tell me that someone molested your dog?
Yes. I think it was the Marine. He's been following me. He's going to
Judy, what the hell are you talking about?
Did you ever read the note she wrote describing what happened?
Yeah, that is very.
Malcolm was hurt by a lion. There was a baby. The head was chopped open and the brains were burned. Malcolm had to drink the baby's blood. Did the defense get this note?
I assume Ruben sent it over.
Then we're off the hook, because I sure as hell don't have time to butt heads with her.
They need to,
At the
they need to block
cemetery,
his
you were
hands
forced to
tiny.
dig up the bodies of dead people.
Yes.
And did the teachers give the kids shovels to dig up the bodies?
Yes.
Permission to approach, Your Honor.
It's not, well, man. We all thought it was. It is not actually Charlie Kelly's uncle.
Now, these are pictures of some men with numbers under them, right?
Yes.
Look at these very carefully, Aaron, and if you see any of the men who went with you to the cemetery, draw a circle around the pictures with the red pencil.
Yeah, Mac's mom was one of them that gave the one woman a cavity search.
God, it would have been so good if they had put a picture of James Woods in there and the kid circled him.
Your Honor, I would like to
this guy right here
indicate for the record that Aaron has identified City Attorney James Hahn and actor Chuck Norris.
Okay, but that confirms a lot of things about Chuck Norris.
And James Hahn.
I mean, yeah, it is interesting because, you know, I looked into some of those people when I remember years ago you reading these news stories about how they identified all these, you know, local LA political people.
Right.
James Hahn, the city attorney, and you know, James Hahn is interesting because he later became the mayor of Los Angeles, and he appointed this guy Bill Bratton as LAPD chief, former NYPD higher up, who was also a Homeland Security consultant at one time, and
oh my.
Yeah. Also, some of the children identified another woman, like a school board woman named Roberta Weintraub, who was also close to Bill Bratton, in that she helped set up this like magnet school, you know, that was funneling kids into the police academy and the law enforcement work. So
that's insane. Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yes. So it's two
Of course you are, but like, that's insane.
Yeah, so this guy, this Homeland Security consultant, you know, former NYPD guy who becomes LAPD, he's connected to two of these people who previously surfaced as alleged perpetrators in the McMartin case. And as for Chuck Norris, he was operating various karate studios at the time that were very, very close to the McMartin school. So once again, I mean, it's supposed to be implausible on the face of it, but there may well be something legitimate to it.
The idea of someone connected to McMartin funneling people into law enforcement is so, like, it's so PTK coded. It's very reifying of McGowan.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, I believe, you know, there was this big story in like 2005 about one of the former McMartin kids. I think his name was Kyle Zirpolo, Zirpolo, who, you know, recanted and said, you know, oh yeah, I made everything up and I knew I was making it up. And I think he actually went into the LAPD as an adult. So the one kid they get who recants publicly went into law enforcement.
Interesting. Back to it. That's wild, George.
Thank you.
They have not really talked about the tunnels. We've gotten like one passing mention of it in the videotape so far.
ABC News Nightline. Reporting.
And I want to talk about how the tunnels were there, but if they don't talk about it at all, we'll talk about it
From Washington, Ted Koppel.
Joining us now live in our Los Angeles bureau is Daniel Davis, who is defense attorney for Raymond Buckey, one of the defendants in the McMartin case. Mr. Davis, I understand that your first responsibility is to your client and to come up with the best defense you possibly can for him, but it doesn't sound as though you're taking any prisoners among your 6- and 7-year-old witnesses.
My client is in jail at this moment without bail because of the statements of these children. That's good.
Is it necessary to be quite that tough with them?
Mr. Buckey is being held, an innocent man without bail.
Doesn't this frighten you?
What? So it is really
When you're getting to be as much despised as the McMartins, maybe even more.
Thanks for sharing. That I'm having trouble that frightens me. This case is a nightmare. They got the train on the tracks, it's rolling, it's winning them votes and sound bites, but nobody's willing to put on the brakes. Of course it frightens me.
Big train, fast tracks, I mean, what? Make it sound like it's so exciting.
Good.
But it's not. It's taking you nowhere.
Why are you doing this?
Look, just get out of this case. It's going to cost you your career.
Are you kidding? This case is why guys go to law school. This case is about justice.
Oh, come on. Give me a break, Danny. This case is just as scummy as all the others, even scummier. And
And you know what? If you do win this case, you're just going to encourage child abusers to think that they can get away with it.
You know what? You're just like all the rest. You are so wrong, it's pathetic. You know, you just say the word kids and everybody rushes to judgment. Hang them, fry them, just string them up by their fingernails. How come everybody in America knows these people are guilty? What about the facts? What about the fucking facts?
Yeah, what about the fucking facts, James Woods?
Well, if you're so sure you're right, then why are you yelling?
Because I didn't grow up with the advantages you grew
Yeah,
up with.
she's
Okay?
right.
I grew up in a slum where everybody called a spade a goddamn shovel. I'm not a club type of lawyer. I'm just a hack. Yeah, and maybe I'm part of what's fucking up the system because the system is fucked up and everybody should know about it. You know what's basically
I resonate with people that call themselves hacks.
at stake here? It's called the rule of law, and I happen to like it.
To intimidate the children.
Judy? I come from a long line of hacks, Paul. You knock that off. He's not a hack. He's a scumbag.
Get off my land. This is sacred property.
That's right, Hacky.
Judy? It's me.
I
Steve.
do have a blue check.
What are you doing with that thing?
Don't you touch my children. Don't you touch my babies. I'll kill you. I'm Jesus Johnson.
She pulled out a 12-gauge shotgun on her brother because she thought he was coming to kill her babies. All she talks about is how the neighbors are trying to sexually molest her kids. What is it? Acute paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh, hell yeah. The people that believe that there are satanic child molesters out there have acute paranoid schizophrenia.
Drinking doesn't help.
And that's like the big thing. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Sorry.
We'll go with George.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, this is the big angle that they try to pull on, I mean, Judy Johnson in particular, and try to cast it as if this whole case just begun with the word of a paranoid schizophrenic, when even Glenn Stevens, this guy on screen here, who, I mean, later defects from the DA's office, helps these screenwriters make their movie, even he acknowledges on the tape-recorded conversations he had with these movie producers that there was no sign of that at the time that she first made her claims back in '83, and obviously if it's acute paranoid schizophrenia, I mean, that's not something that would, I mean, there's no sign that that was happening before, and the medical evidence backs up what happened to her son independently, but they try to act like she was just crazy this whole time.
Well, and I think it's like after what happened, that kind of stress could trigger mental, like, it seems very lousy to try to accredit it that way. And Colin, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, pretty much what Graham said. Like, she really is the model of like a QAnon weirdo, but that's kind of by design. I mean, it's the shit code right there. Now, whenever you hear someone talk about child abuse, this is what's gonna happen.
And like QAnon was very much designed to try and associate like a conspiracy with a lunatic fringe to the far right. It was something that really tried to play into that. What is this, LA? What is this? Here's with the heavy cross to bear. I think Ross Preschool has been buffeted by the McMartin case, recent molestation charges against a youth counselor, and now the loss of its rector. This was 1990. This kind of, who sent this? Virgil Durden. It kind of reminds me a lot of Franklin, where you had people like connected to the ring arrested, but you never had those real charges against Larry King Jr.
Yeah, I mean, and even when they connected a person, they arrested someone who was connected, but they would say, oh, this case is totally unrelated to Franklin. Like, they got Peter Citron, they got Alan Bayer on other things, and they said, this is no way a confirmation of this network, even though the same kids in Franklin were accusing all these people. And it's the same thing with all these interrelated rings, I mean, some of this is even talked about in McGowan's Program to Kill chapter, that there was this nearby, another like school or daycare, the Cocoa Palms daycare, and there were a few people were arrested in that, including Robert Hamill Winkler, who multiple kids identified as a perpetrator in their abuse at McMartin. So that's exactly the pattern. They try to contain these cases and make sure there's no hint that there is any connection to a broader network.
No, you're good. You're good, Virgil. You are good. I really like that. I really like that because it brought up a good line of discussion. This is why I have the best chat in the business. That's something else I was gonna say. I don't remember. I'll keep going.
An alcoholic for years. Didn't you know that?
We'll recess for a late lunch. Court will resume.
I remember. I can't believe people think that Larry King Jr. and Larry King Live are related. They have completely different last names.
At 2:30.
Let's go. Come on. See you after lunch.
Oh, come on, folks. That was a good one.
Come on. Let's go.
I just felt personally attacked because for the longest time I thought it was the same person.
See you later.
See you tomorrow, dear. I'll be here, sweetheart. I'll be here.
Come on.
Don't forget to take your medicine.
Come on, let's go.
Don't.
I made a similar joke once on
Don't go so
Twitter.
fast. Oh! Peggy! Peggy! Oh, what are they doing?
We're not doing anything to her. No, she's all right. She just tripped. I saw it. I saw it. She's okay.
I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you. All I've heard are lies. Lies from the first day in this courtroom.
You calm down. She's fine.
What's happened to my daughter?
She just stumbled.
Yeah, she fell.
Hey, Faye.
Hey,
Can I buy you lunch?
sure. We were just going to that Greek place. They have pea soup today.
Okay. I can speak to you guys off the record, right?
What are you doing? The first there's no such thing as off the record.
Whammo. It's got to be Glenn Stevens. He's the only one in that office with enough guts. This is unbelievable.
Hell yeah! If I ever defected on a case and advised on a script, I would be like, yeah, you gotta put a line in here about like how I have the biggest balls in the DA's office because I'm amazing for doing this. This is insane.
Yeah, you know that was in his contract somewhere.
The self-glaze is incredible.
Of course, what they don't bring up is that even at the time that he defected, he still maintained that Ray Bucky was guilty. He may have had doubts about the other defendants, but he didn't waver from the fact that Ray Bucky was guilty, and as I mentioned, that there was nothing about Judy Johnson back at the time she made a report to indicate that she was crazy or somehow mentally compromised.
I did not know that. I did not know that about the Ray Bucky aspect. That's interesting.
Whoa. Are you really naive enough to think that a reporter would keep it off the record that the DA's office doubts its own case, Glenn?
No,
If you
he's
did
not.
it anonymously,
Yeah, right?
half the people will think I did it. This thing's gonna follow my career forever. How could you do it, Glenn? Why?
Because I think they're innocent. Don't you?
Not quite.
Come on, Christine.
Right.
Didn't it get to you?
Yeah, they've completely revised it.
What about what's
They've
right?
done that for
Wait
a lot
a
of
minute,
details.
Where does this sanctimonious tone come from, my friend? You don't know they're innocent. You are a public prosecutor. Your job is to see that justice gets served. For you to go behind everybody's back like this is unethical and cowardly, period. If it's any satisfaction to you, I think you have sabotaged this case beyond repair.
Well, if it's any satisfaction to you, I've sabotaged my career beyond repair in order to do it. You'll have my resignation on your desk in the morning.
We know that he ended up homeless shortly after. It's very tragic. Definitely didn't have an escape plan.
Yeah, I think he even was, I believe, on the taped, the taped conversations he had with Abby and Myra Mann. I think he was saying something like, oh yeah, you've got to hide the fact that I have a financial interest in this project.
Jesus. That's fantastic.
That's why they gave him that horrible mustache so that he wouldn't stand out.
I think he's going for like
I have
Howard
been in
Hughes kind of
conference
thing?
with my staff. We've all come to the same conclusion. The evidence against 5 in this case is so incredibly weak, it does not go beyond mere accusation. We are dropping charges against 5 of the defendants in the McMartin case.
I mean, mere accusation is often all that there is in a sexual assault case, and that is enough evidence to convict someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Convincing evidence that
I'm sure that Ira Reiner's decision to drop all these charges has nothing to do with the fact that he was friends with a guy like Manson, who himself participated in sex trafficking of minors and was himself linked to satanic groups and was himself identified by some of the children in the McMartin case as a perpetrator.
It's very interesting because there is like there's a very clear history of these kind of groups. It goes back to like the post-war period.
Yeah, and even pre-war to some extent. Like there's a chapter in McGowan's book Weird Scenes about how people around Harry Houdini were involved in some kind of child trafficking network back in like the 1910s around then. So
Well, I suppose you
it's
could
a
really,
long,
yeah, like Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and OTO and all that stuff kind of helped the nascent stirrings of that kind of movement. So you can really trace it back to like the late 1800s, I suppose. And then those things have roots that go back even further as well. I mean, when I think one of the things that people get confused about PTK is like a lot of people will say like, well, they're just torturing people until they go insane, and like there's something to that slightly, but that's why he writes about Marquis de Sade briefly at the end, is that like there's a history of knowing how to torture people in order to manipulate them, and it goes back hundreds of years.
Right, exactly. I mean, something like MK Ultra, is following this time-honored tradition that, really just about, taking these techniques that, the sadistic people, especially people in power, already knew about, and just refining them and, essentially making them into this scientific process you can follow. But it was nothing new. It's a practice that's been going on for, I would say, centuries.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
There is equally clear and equally convincing evidence that his mother, Peggy Buck, was also involved.
George, have you brought up the incest angle at all yet, or were you thinking about bringing that up at all?
No, I mean, there's not a ton of solid information to go on, but certainly that informant, George Freeman from before, who claimed that he was in the same cell as Ray Bucky and got all these disclosures from him. Ray Bucky allegedly told George Freeman that he and his sister Peggy Ann had a sexual relationship with each other. So, and that certainly, that kind of dynamic within a family is sometimes associated with sort of intergenerational thing that happens,
Right.
Intergenerational abuse. And so if the McMartin and Bucky families were that kind of family, it is exactly what you would expect, and would explain potentially why there could be 3 generations of people, Virginia, Peggy, and Ray, all involved in the same type of thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up as only what Peggy and Ray weren't released.
Well,
Like
he
the
let Peggy
Bidens.
go.
That's right.
Something. You got to give him credit for that.
For what? Trying to have it both ways? He knows he can't get a conviction with all 7, but he can't let him go. He knows that Ray and Peggy have been kept in jail all this time without bail and on his watch. He's just looking for scapegoats to cover his ass.
There is furious reaction tonight against the prosecution's latest move in the case that helped center national attention on the
I'd like Ira Reiner to go to the 300 victims and explain why these people who have hurt them are allowed to go free.
Look, I would never get involved in any vigilante activity, but I wouldn't want to be one of these defendants walking the streets.
Who's wearing sats these days? Some of the shoes are on the other foot.
Get jobs in our preschool and molest our kids.
That's a good question,
Empire of the Wheel. That sounds good. I'm gonna check that out.
Hello? Just a minute, please. Honey?
long distance.
Who is it?
Who's calling?
It's Chris Widget, the examiner.
I don't think we've had Ted Koppel in any of the news clips, have we?
What chance of the phone for? Anybody there? Chris.
Hi. I think I saw Dan Rather.
Hi. What's up?
Been getting a little help from Deep Throat, Wayne?
What are you talking about?
The puppet lady? How long have you been living with
Oh,
her?
right.
What? Conflict of interest? Fucking the source of the story? How long you been doing it?
No wonder you've gotten so many exclusives, eh?
I'm proud of my work on this case. I won a Peabody and 2 Golden Mike Awards for it, so just maybe jealousy might be a motive here.
You're a piece of shit, Wayne. You're the reason people hate the press. We are gonna nail your ass so bad that
You try
will
it. But you be careful what you put on the air. I'm not only a reporter, I'm a lawyer too, and there are laws about these things. You can't just say anything you like on TV, you know?
Oh, he was? I missed him.
So this is an interesting angle about the whole case too, that this reporter, Wayne Satz, who was responsible for, blowing up the case to the, wild proportions that it reached, and also arguably, putting so much pressure on the DA's office that they moved forward with the case before they could properly put it together as well as they arguably should have. He and Key McFarland, the head of CII, were in a relationship with each other at some point, and a couple interesting things about that, CII is a decidedly mixed bag as far as this whole case is concerned. They got, some of their interviews with kids were genuine and, got good information. Some of them very much were leading and, absolutely, tainted any disclosures that were made by these kids. And, there is a very possible that, in fact, CII's involvement basically, torpedoed the case, and that, I've speculated myself about whether that could have been by design.
Right.
And Wayne Satz, the person who she had the relationship with, he himself actually surfaced earlier in the as a suspect in the Hillside Stranglers serial killers in the late 70s, because many sex workers in LA, commented on how he would frequent them, and he was into very sadistic sexual acts, and so bad that they even described it as satanic sexual interests. So a guy who came up as a suspect in these serial killings, literally in the context of sexual practices that were called satanic by multiple women, ends up dating the head of CII, who's gathering all these statements and gathering them in such a way that these statements basically become, tainted and effectively are, free ways of undermining the prosecution's case once the defense gets a hold of them. The possibility that that could have all been by design as part of the way that this case was torpedoed, I think, is a very interesting possibility to examine. And it's just one of those ways that the witch hunt narrative shows it a certain way to act like this case was just completely non-credible, but looking at it from another perspective, it's very possible that this was part of the design and part of the design for the case to fall apart.
Right. That was the one that I wanted to ask you. I was fairly certain that he was the one that was connected to the Hillside Strangler case, but I was not 100% on that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think it'll be fair. Just tell it like it is. Tell the truth. Everything will be okay.
I don't know why I agreed to do this.
You look nice. Pretty, doesn't she? You look really nice. Oh, yeah. Come on. You look good.
This is 60 Minutes.
Well, during the time that I was in jail, the custody of my children was taken away from me. They were taken from the school that we placed them in. They were arrested. I don't know for what. At that time, my son was 8.
Along with everyone else, I lost every material possession I ever had. I lost all my teaching credentials, which I'd gone 6 years of college to get.
In this country, if you're accused, you're guilty. God help you if you try to prove.
Why don't you have teaching credentials for a preschool? That's not normal. I know that. Like, you do not have to have an education credential. Like, it's normally like a cert that you go for to do pre-K. It's not like now there are credentialed pre-K programs, but usually they're connected to elementary schools. Most like a McMartin style daycare would not require a teaching credential. Usually they would require certificates. I don't know about McMartin specifically, but like I know for the general standard nationwide is it's a certificate program.
Prove you're innocent.
Fucking ain't right.
And that's the way we've been treated from the first day.
You know who should be made to watch this? Ira Reiner.
can talk all they
Ira
want
Reiner should be made to watch.
Oh, Koppel is associated with Spence.
You
Interesting.
gonna get him on camera?
Virginia McMartin, Betty Rader, Mary Ann Jackson, Peggy Ann Bucky. Their homes, their money, their honor. Everything gone. Deserved?
No, of course not.
So who do these people go to get their money back and their life back? The county? Your predecessor? Children's Institute International?
That's not the sort of question I should be getting into.
Do you think you can get him to grant bail for Peggy?
God, I hope so. She's 62 years
Yeah.
old. They've kept her for 18 months without a trial.
It's unbelievable.
Most of these people are
The trial
in
itself
the
will take another
club.
year and a half. You can't let this happen. It'd be a scandal.
That's all?
This is it?
I'll leave it here. Let's see what I can do.
You always used to love to come here.
Like you said, I want to go home.
No, Mom. Not back to that little apartment. Not yet.
Please. You haven't been outdoors once since you got out. Please. I promise there's nothing here to hurt you. Okay? Come on.
We'll just take a little walk, okay? There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just us. I know.
The fella doesn't like the beach because of jail. Such a sympathetic framing to like I have disgust on my face like constantly because they're giving these people just like yeah.
No, there's nothing to be afraid of, but I am afraid. I'm so afraid. I'm afraid they'll come in the middle of the night again and arrest me. I know I've done nothing wrong. Why is this happening then? It's like God is punishing me for something.
Yes,
All
for
I've
being
ever
a
known
pedo.
is teaching children, and I can never do that again. Everything is lost. And your youth, you never smile anymore like you used to.
Right
And
next
Ray.
to the playground, yeah. They got him
Ray's still in there.
hanging out with
I mean,
the
how
kids.
can he endure it? He will endure it. You did. We all will.
That's interesting, Zolda. That's very true. It's like you have to get a case like this where people are very connected to the spheres of power before you ever get coverage that's like, man, the prison industry is really fucked up, huh? Oh yeah, West Memphis 3 is another solid example.
Danny! Danny, wait! Look,
In the
look,
film.
Look, you gotta see this.
Right?
I think it was Pemberton
Danny, look at
versus
this. Danny, look at this.
Superior Court, 1962.
I mean, right now, look. It came my way last night.
Where'd you get this, Stevens?
Yo! Kid with an Italian
Holy
sniper.
Mr. Davis, can I help you?
No.
Sir?
The Judy Johnson discovery. Would we have a trial if I had this to present in court?
You don't walk
I don't
in
think
here
so.
without an
I
appointment.
don't fucking
And
think so.
you don't swear.
Judy
me.
Johnson,
Who the hell
you knew she was nuts. She's the main accuser in your case, and you knew she was a fucking banana.
Do not shout at me. Who the hell do you think you are?
Why didn't I get this before?
Who do you think you're talking to here,
That's
Mr. Davis?
not this
Are
kind
you
of stream,
expecting me to be
Billy,
personally
sorry.
responsible for every piece of evidence that comes down the
I
pipe?
am.
It was not my job to get it
It
to you.
is your
You
job.
received a summary. You could have followed up. Why
Bullshit.
don't you take care of your side of
Bullshit.
the case?
Your back's against the wall and you know it. Why didn't you file charges against Judy Johnson's husband? She accused him of molesting Mal.
I don't think you guys. I don't think we can do hot tub streams anymore. I think they got banned, guys.
Malcolm, the same woman who accused my clients. You don't see a problem that I didn't get to see this?
Yes, I see a problem.
Thank you.
It's not my problem.
It is your problem.
I don't know why you didn't get it. As for Judy Johnson, she only accused her husband after she became unstable. She became unstable after what happened to her son, after damages inflicted on him by your client.
Where did you come from? Did you read this thing? Did you? You didn't press charges against Judy Johnson's husband because you didn't want it to mess up your nice, neat witch hunt against my clients.
We got the word.
Yeah, I mean, everything, as far as I can see, everything that the character, a fictionalized version of Layla Rubin's saying here is correct. She was making a lot of claims that were seemingly outlandish as far as whether they actually were too crazy to be believed, or whether she was talking about something that was real but just beyond most people's understanding of what could be real, or she truly had broken down mentally. That still doesn't affect what happened at the inception of the case, where, as I mentioned before, even the defector Glenn Stevens admitted that there wasn't a problem back then. There was corroborating medical evidence back then. So trying to take what happened to her afterwards, which, as you pointed out, the stress of this case could break a lot of people, and trying to apply that to the very beginning, and also to act like she was the only, like her son was the only victim, when there were tons of other kids who came forward making similar corroborating statements and also had medical evidence backing up their stories. It's just part of the fundamental dishonesty in this film.
Well, and it's never going to talk about things like dead witnesses or people that didn't get to make it to the stand for myriad reasons. Like, you're never going to get coverage of that aspect of the case, of the actual cover-up elements.
Yeah.
Sorry I laughed, George. They pointed out James Woods' face to me that we were paused on.
Nice.
You know what I'm going to do about this? I'm going to the judge. I'm going to ask him to recuse you and the entire district attorney's office for prosecutorial misconduct.
I have seldom seen anything as explosive as this handwritten letter from Judy Johnson that was allegedly not passed on to the defense. The prosecution maintains that they only sent over a typewritten summary of this evidence earlier because they were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of the material. I accept this explanation and am therefore going to dismiss the charges of prosecutorial misconduct. However, the court does grant the defense's request to examine Mrs. Johnson. Clearly, she is a crucial witness.
Roger, we're at location. Over.
Oh wait, maybe
Every day she heard herself being
Speaking of
ridiculed and ripped
suspiciously
apart
dead
by
witnesses.
Mr. Davis
Yeah.
on the news. I would hope the defense attorneys are now beginning to regret their comments.
There's nothing beneath the prosecution, is there? The body's not even cold yet.
How do you think she felt reading every day in the newspapers that this case was spawned by a mad woman?
Blocking with that.
It is commendable of the prosecution to have such compassion for Mrs. Johnson now that she's dead.
But did he know?
They knew from the begining that she was mentally ill, but they did not suggest she be helped because they were afraid the defense might find out about it.
That is another false claim.
To the defense, this woman has suffered more in a few weeks than most of us suffer in a lifetime.
Not as much as
and I tell you there, but for the grace of God, go you and I.
How did you know this? Police investigators say they believe Judy Johnson's death was a result of an accidental alcohol overdose.
First don't count.
Mrs. Johnson was a key figure in the McMartin case, and it was her allegations that led to the first charges being filed against Raymond.
You get some allowances for things in film as opposed to things
I know
that
you
are
like
real.
to think of yourself as an athlete, so let's see how many miles you can ride on this thing every day.
Judy Johnson's dead.
I know, Ray. And it's too bad, but we don't need her. Thanks, boys.
We don't need her. She was the whole case.
Thanks, Al.
Now she's dead. I can't take this anymore, Dan.
You're gonna have to.
What's that?
why is Judy acting
Oh,
like
yeah.
Judy Johnson is so critical when she's not even the accuser? First of all, it was her son,
Right.
and there were others. Like, once again, the centrality of this one person who they can easily attack, and ignoring everything else in this case.
No, it's classic.
Every night, I lie in my bed and
It's basically the only way that they can present that. They have to, like, every time that we get a piece of evidence, that evidence has been minimized as, like, the only piece of evidence that exists for the case. But you can't have 500 pieces of only the existing piece of evidence for the case.
in that tiny little cell in my mind
Like
world.
the same way that they'll take, they'll look at the CIA interviews that were the most egregious. They won't talk about the ones where there was no sign of leading questions, and they'll even misrepresent it. Like, Ross J. talks in his book, there was an example where, a kid who, one of these kids, supposedly only started talking about, bad things that Ray did to her after the interviewer brought it up, but she was actually talking about that even before it. The person who wrote the quote-unquote official book on this, Debbie Nathan and Michael Snedeker, her co-author, basically just twisted around the chronology of these disclosures to make it look like it was leading questions when the kid was actually saying things on their own. So you'll take these, examples of that undermine the case, and then they'll just discard everything. They'll try to make those individual problematic things look like they encompass the entire case.
And that's easy to do when the entirety of the case is like 300 and something counts of abuse, almost 50 accusers,
right?
Like 48 or something like that. Yeah.
Around and around. Why shouldn't I just put a plastic bag over my head or slit my wrist or have someone else jam a shank through my ear? What am I hanging around for? Listen to these kids rip the skin off me? Watch my family get humiliated? Watch them lose everything they had? They hate me, Danny! I'm like Freddy Krueger to these people. I'm Charles Manson. I mean, they
Third counter.
Well.
use my name to scare their little kids before they go to sleep.
You're right. I'll never lie to you, Ray. They do hate you. But we're gonna make them hate someone else. We're gonna make the jury hate someone else.
What are you talking about?
Lyle Rubin. What do you think your case is gonna be, Ray? I'll tell you. She's gonna make a big deal out of the fact that you had a picture from a skin magazine as proof that you molest children. She's gonna show that you're a bad guy because sometimes you forget to wear your BVDs. She's gonna make the fact that you aren't chasing everything in a skirt proof that you are chasing 5-year-olds. What do you think's gonna happen when she shows up in court with this flimsy rag of a case? Everyone is gonna see the Emperor's new clothes. They're gonna see through the innuendos and the bullshit in the stories. And they're gonna see that if somebody's on trial for screwing people, maybe it shouldn't be Ray Bucky. Okay? Now, son, I want you to get your ass in this bike and see how many miles you can clock. Or you can let Lyle Rubin and Key McFarland just dance all over your grave. Ta-da. Come on, son.
What's the exercise bike thing? Did I miss something?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Okay. Okay, good.
Today, nearly 4 years after the
I know sometimes they try to get their clients in shape before the trial, but you would think there would have been some setup for
first
that.
arrest in the McMartin Preschool
Or is
Trial.
this like another It's Always Sunny reference? I think we all know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Case, defendants Raymond Bucky and his mother, Peggy McMartin Bucky, will finally go on trial.
Okay, you gotta chat. Is it Max
Three of 8
exercise
men
bike?
and 4 women.
Yes.
Mr. Freeman, did Raymond Bucky confess to you that he had sex with children?
He said he sexually assaulted children.
Will you tell us the words he used?
You want me to?
Yes.
Well, he said he fucked a 2-year-old boy in the butt.
Did the defendant say what he used when he fucked this 2-year-old boy, to use his words?
Said he usually used baby oil and KY jelly.
Mm-hmm. Did the defendant say that anything happened when he used the KY or the baby oil?
Yeah. Said if he didn't use baby oil, the boy bled.
Mr. Davis, it seems we have a bit of a problem.
What is that, Your Honor?
I wanted us to meet because I think Mr. Freeman should have an attorney. He told me that he committed perjury in other cases.
When did he tell you this?
3 weeks ago.
But you're telling me that you knew before Freeman got on the stand that he'd perjured himself, and you let him testify without informing the court?
To be honest with you, I hadn't considered the fact that he might need an attorney until now.
You know, we face giving him immunity or calling a mistrial.
Call a mistrial. You can't let this happen.
Do you know how much the state has spent on this case so far?
I don't give a damn how much it costs. It's a mistrial. This is outrageous.
You may not give a damn, but I do, and the people of Los Angeles do.
Your Honor.
It is my view that Mr. Freeman must testify. And the only way to do that is through immunity.
Miss Rubin planned this all along.
Mr. Davis, my ruling will stand.
James was a red pill truth telling.
So when Freeman came to you with his problem, what did you say? Don't worry, George. Get your garbage in. I'll protect you.
I said nothing of the kind. And
Billy
let's not
Finn,
go
what the
public with
skibbity?
this, please.
The district attorney's office and the judge are saying to George Freeman, go ahead, lie, perjure yourself. You won't be prosecuted, but there's one thing they cannot grant him immunity on, and that is murder.
Murder? George Freeman committed a murder?
Oh, why wasn't he indicted?
Why not?
Why do you think he wasn't indicted?
Are you suggesting a deal was made not to indict Freeman if he agreed to testify against Ray Bucky?
I'm not suggesting anything. You draw your own conclusions. But George Freeman is the
Yeah, that
prosecution's
is
super-duper whopper
that's a lie. I should note as well that after Danny Davis went public with that accusation about George Freeman, the detective in that particular murder testified and said that he had never made a confession, despite Danny Davis claiming that he did. So another sign of the sterling credibility of this defense team here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna hit them with a 1-minute ad break and run to the bathroom real quick. Be right back. I'll keep it paused. Like a carafe of Mountain Dew. I am not. Wouldn't do that on a stream. At least not in a 3-hour stream. Or 4-hour stream. Alright. Get this started back up again.
Jumbo cheeseburger deluxe with extra special sauce. Now, either you swallow it or you have a delicate stomach and it smells bad, you don't go near it. Doesn't make any difference because before this is over, I am going to convict George Freeman of that murder. Thank you. No more questions.
You don't have anything on this murder, do you?
Not a thing. You kidding?
The star witness in the McMartin molestation trial, George Freeman,
Yeah, you need a intermission info, like a graphic.
was arrested this morning when he failed to show up in court. Sheriff's deputies tracked Freeman down here to his sister's house in the San Fernando Valley, where he had gone into hiding. They found him squatting behind a number of boxes in the garage. He surrendered to the deputies.
We were saying he's kind of typecast. He's like always a sleazeball, but like he's good at playing that kind of character. I'll give you that, Billy.
Without incident, and is expected to appear in court tomorrow morning.
You're upset with me, aren't you?
You know I am.
Did it disturb you, what I said about getting you convicted of murder?
I don't care.
Mr. Freeman, have you ever been convicted of what might be called willful cruelty to children?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that you once
he is.
tied up your mother and sister, burglarized other parts of the house, and left them tied up?
Only God would know, right?
Right. Mr. Freeman, do you have any credibility in your own opinion?
No.
Well, that's all.
That's wild.
Thank you. Did you appear on a program in which Wayne Satz announced that 60 children were making allegations against Raymond Bucky before the case had even gone before the grand jury?
I believe I did.
Didn't it concern you that you might be compromising the investigation of the case? It's interesting that they didn't show him needling the previous witness like George had mentioned.
Yes, it did. I was
Right,
very
and they
upset by
also
it.
don't show him talking about the international child pornography connection, which again is one of those key elements that shows why this case is almost certainly bigger than just a couple of creeps or one creep at a preschool.
Almost always is for something like when you have this many accusers. Yeah, I don't know. It's just wild that this case has been so easily swept under the rug. But like you said, I think it was very much intentionally designed that way.
And I told Mr. Satz so.
So in the beginning, they mentioned Scandinavia, like looking for pornography from Scandinavia. Have they brought up Scandinavia at all before this? Because I know you mentioned that, George, but I haven't heard them mention it in the movie except for that one reference.
I think you're right. It was just that one time.
It was
So
just the
yeah,
one
I mean
reference.
and it certainly matches up with the thing about shipping child pornography to Denmark that Freeman testified about. But yeah, they're probably not going to go into it much in this film.
You were so upset about it that you moved in with him, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Miss McFarland's intimate relations are not an issue in this trial.
Sustained.
Do you think you are qualified to judge whether a child has been molested or not?
Objection. Miss McFarland is not on trial here, even if Mr. Davis would like to put her on trial.
What is Miss Rubin afraid of? Miss McFarland was touted by the DA's office as their expert witness, going around the country giving speeches. What's happened all of a sudden? Are you afraid?
I don't think it's that they can't get their own billing.
Afraid she won't pass muster?
What were they asking? Why Denmark's important?
No, he said, crazy to think you would have to send CP to Denmark, like they can't get their own.
I mean, yeah, since you mentioned... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, George. You have something smart to say, I'm sure. I was going to make a joke about Belgium.
I was just going to say that, there was this corporation called, the Color Climax Corporation operating out of Denmark, and they were deeply involved in child pornography, and if I recall correctly, they did have a connection to LA as well in their operations. So that may well have actually be the connection that's relevant in this case.
You shouldn't have doubted the Wunderkin's ability to pontificate, Billy. It's never just a joke.
Thank you, Your Honor. Answer the question, please. Do you think you're qualified?
Since I've spent the majority of my professional life devoted to the subject, I think so, yes.
What is your educational background as far as diagnosing children?
We're just teasing.
I have a master's degree in social work from the University of Maryland.
Did the curriculum include any study in child abuse?
Yes.
Oh. What portion dealt with that?
Well, it's a liberal arts program with psychology, sociology, and those basic courses cover children.
Well, have you ever treated children in the psychiatric sense?
I don't understand what you mean.
You know what psychiatric is. Have you ever heard of that, psychiatric?
Objection. Would you instruct Mr. Davis to stop harassing the witness?
I think if this witness doesn't know what psychiatric means and she has presented herself as an expert, then the court ought to know about that, don't you think?
Objection overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. Answer the question, please. Have you ever treated children in a psychiatric sense?
No.
How have you treated them?
I've treated them as a social worker.
You worked in Maryland and New Jersey and California, is that right?
Yes.
Were you licensed in New Jersey or Maryland?
Not licensed.
Are you licensed in California?
No.
You are not licensed to work as a therapist or a social worker in any state, are you?
That's correct.
Thank you. Where did you learn these techniques that you use with these children?
From working with families and attending virtually every conference on child abuse in the country. I don't know of any library that's more extensive than my own on the subject.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor, and I would like to mark into evidence defense exhibits
KKLL.
KKLL. Your Honor. Thank you. You use dolls like these?
Yes?
Why?
To familiarize the children with their body parts so they're able to talk about it. It's very difficult for them to say the words. Some of them aren't even able to articulate what's happened to them.
How do you know anything happened to them?
I made a determination.
Some of them were in your office only a few minutes before you undressed these dolls. How could you tell?
By the way they were acting, by their not wanting to talk about it.
Did it ever occur to you that they didn't want to talk about it because nothing happened?
Something happened to them, Mr. Davis.
You used different dolls to represent the teachers, did you not?
Yes.
Did you choose black dolls to represent Raymond Bucky, Miss McFarlane?
The children picked the dolls.
Your Honor, I would like to present into evidence sections of the videotape made by Miss McFarlane of the children. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it is a total hit job.
They have bloomers. And the little boys have, guess what down here? A real-looking penis. Now, which doll do you think would be good for Ray?
I don't know.
Okay, how about this one? Okay? What I like is their hair, even though it doesn't really look like real hair, does it?
Fuzzy.
Something DEI.
He's got a little hair on
It's DEI. Wait,
were you trying
is
to
that what
teach
you said? Or did you say D? No, you said say DEI.
These
My
children
brain's
will
not
never
working.
make it.
I thought you said
I
DIE.
don't associate the use of dolls of different color with racism.
You weren't trying to make them think that Ray Bucky was a bad man, were you?
I don't perceive a black doll as inherently having a negative characteristic.
How about when you remove the doll's pants and add, oh, he has hair on his great, big, ugly penis?
I commented about all the dolls. I was trying to let them know I was the kind of person they could say anything to.
And who is this?
Miss Peggy.
Miss Peggy. Now, doesn't she have funny-looking boobies? Look at these little heart things that stick out. Have you ever seen boobies with these lines in them? Some of the kids at school told me that her real name is Miss Piggy because she's kind of fat. Is that true?
Why do you call her Miss Piggy instead of Miss Peggy? What do you mean when you talk about her boobs with lines?
I don't think you understand how frightened these children were. It's an attempt to jog their memories, sort out which teacher was which.
All right, Mr. Monkey, are you going to be stupid or are you going to be smart and help us out here? Because some people think you're stupid, Mr. Monkey.
Well, I'll be smart.
You will?
Mm-hmm.
Opus DEI.
Mr. Monkey's a big chicken, and he can't remember any of the naked games, but we think we know a game that Mr. Monkey remembers. It's the Naked Movie Star game. Do you remember that game? Or is your memory too bad?
You told Sam that he was stupid and that he was a chicken and that his memory was too bad. Is that right?
I was talking
What, did
to
you
the
miss the
puppet.
start of the movie?
You don't think little Sam thought you were calling
Or
him
the
dumb?
tail end here?
If I believed that, Mr. Davis, I wouldn't have said it.
Now, what the other kids did is they took this doll, Ray, and they started eating that. You want to punch him like the other kids did?
Yeah, I agree. The Woods casting is genius. Watching him sleaze his way to a win.
Go ahead. That's it. Good for you. Good for you. You want to punch him? Go ahead.
Why did you encourage her to beat the doll that was supposed to represent Ray? Don't you think this kind of thing leads the children to believe that he was a bad man?
Not at all. It was therapy. It's best that they let their anger
really
out rather
need a
than
doll
keeping
of
it bottled
Woods.
up inside
What's that?
They really need a doll of James Woods.
of themselves for years. It can become a time bomb if it's repressed.
Sandra Krebs, your assistant. You taught her your technique, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And she was initially employed as your video camera operator, was she not?
You seem to give a great priority to formal education, Mr. Davis.
Miss McFarland, this was, in your words, one
We might need the hypnotic amnesia work.
of the biggest molestation cases in the history of the world. Why didn't you hire the most experienced person you could get?
Because some of them wouldn't have had the courage to do what had to be done.
What courage was that?
Simply to find out the truth.
Remember all the times your mom asked you if anything happened?
159 times.
I know what we'll do. We tried this with another little girl. Here's Big Bird. Now, what this little girl did was she squeaked once for no,
And he would, the guy that was helped uncover the tunnels, if we're thinking about the same one, was totally vindicated on his land bridge stuff, if I remember correctly. Colin knows more about that.
Yeah, we can go into that later if you want to know.
Sure.
But yeah, no, he's very much right about all of his assertions.
He's still out there archaeologying, apparently.
Yeah.
In Alaska? Yeah.
twice for yes. Can you do that? Once for no and twice for yes.
I can't believe they didn't talk. I mean, I think the tunnels are so vindicating. I guess we're just not gonna get them.
When Jennifer was touched at the school.
Because the thing is, if that one outlandish claim is provable, it puts everything else in a different light. And so I just don't think it's gonna end up being covered in
Was
here.
it a hand that touched
But that's the
her?
funny thing too, that if it is so outlandish and you could show that it was, you would expect that it would be talked about. You know, every other thing in the kitchen sink was thrown at these kids in this movie to discredit what they said, and they're not going to bring this up. I wonder why that is.
Because you can prove it.
No.
Did Ray sometimes do yucky things to some of the kids?
No.
Sometimes people we like can touch kids in places that are uncomfortable and scary. Did you know that Ray did that to some of the kids? No. We don't want to hear any more no's.
No, 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 no.
You told this child's parents that she was molested, did you not?
We said she was in denial.
Did the parents see all of the tapes?
I beg your pardon?
Did they see all of the tapes, Miss McFarland?
No, we were interviewing 400 children.
Krampus, was it Presidio where kids described the Kino household? Yeah, I believe that is Presidio.
Yeah, it was. And note that Paul Benassi also described it, and his description matched up as well.
We actually talked
Paul
about
Benassi
that.
of the Franklin scandal.
We talked about that last week when we watched Conspiracy of Silence, or I brought it up. It was not in the documentary, obviously, but we talked about it.
More recalling all the time.
So all you had to do was press fast forward on the VCR, and you had at your fingertips each child saying whether or not he or she had been molested. Is that correct?
You give me too much credit, Mr. Davis. The very idea that after an hour or two with me, a child was...
Benassi is like a really relevant connecting element to a lot of it, Krampus. That's why I bring him up often.
Say he was molested even if he wasn't. Makes me out to be some sort of genius.
Children between 3 and 6 can be very easily changed.
Alienated worker. Awesome follow.
They're at this developmental stage of magical thinking. It is very easy to intimidate them. You did make that statement, didn't you, Miss McFarland?
I knew what would happen when I put myself on the line with these tapes. I knew people like you would pick apart every word, every inflection, but somebody had to do it, Mr. Davis, so the children could tell the truth.
The truth. Was what you got the truth?
What are you trying to suggest? I would deliberately plant false ideas in their heads? Is that why you think I entered into all of this?
No, I think that you entered into all of this for a very noble reason. To help children that you honestly thought had been traumatized, and maybe spare them going through another trauma in this very courtroom. But I also
the
believe
Gacy one.
that you must have known what a dangerous technique this was. Highly suggestive, A technique that was meant to be used where abuse was already an established fact. And yet, in this case, there was no such evidence that abuse had occurred. And you went ahead and used this
Yeah,
technique
that's
anyway.
completely untrue, given that there were multiple,
Yep.
I mean, there were multiple diagnoses by the experts at CII that there was evidence of severe abuse. So, I mean,
Yep.
and that's part of it. I mean, there was at minimum, physical evidence that would suggest that these children had abuse to disclose. So trying to remove that from the equation is fundamentally dishonest, even if I certainly can't stand by everything that CII did, and I think their involvement, honestly, is a big part of what torpedoed the whole case, and that they were able to do that with the DA's office never supervising the process is, obviously, unimaginable, but
Right.
the fact that remains that there was solid basis to believe that abuse had occurred, and that some of the children were at first holding it back. I mean, that is well established that that does happen, that children are reluctant at first to talk about it.
I mean, yeah, like I'm not one to talk up police practices, but I do know that near me there is now an organization that functions similarly to what CII does, but they are directly affiliated with the police. So there's not as much room for like someone with dollar signs in their eyes and a future book deal in the works to go crazy with it.
Right. I mean, and I think, the fact that it was this, private thing that was basically allowed to do its own thing for months with no supervision, no involvement from the Los Angeles County District Attorney, generating evidence that basically the only purpose it served was to ultimately go to the defense and provide massive amounts of reasonable doubt. Basically the DA's office, through its inaction, whether that was simply a mistake on their part or deliberate, allowed the case to basically be undermined before it began. And so you can look at it as just a massive fuck up, or maybe that the DA's office from the beginning was trying to throw it.
Right. Which is more where I lean, but it's, there's no substantial evidence that can really prove that, at least not yet.
It became the evidence.
Well, there is one thing that I can get into later.
Oh, absolutely, George. I'd love to hear it.
Okay, I guess I can bring it up now.
Yeah.
It has to do with one. Sure. So one of the, as mentioned, there are multiple suspicious deaths, and one of them was this private investigator named Paul Bynum, who had previously had been the defense investigator, actually, for Danny Davis and for the Buckies, and ultimately, had found some things that were leading to him, likely testifying for the prosecution. For example, finding dead animals on the premises that matched up with what some of the children were saying. Now, on the eve of his testimony, he said something along the lines of, either side is going to like what I have to say, meaning both the prosecution and the defense were going to be unhappy with his testimony. And one of the sort of relevant issues with Paul Bynum had to do with this, basically, citation books from his time as a cop in Hermosa Beach, California, which was pretty close to Manhattan Beach. He had been a cop there until he was basically pushed out in 1979, working on various cases, and had citation books from that time that should have been in the possession of the police department. Somehow these citation books from the police department ended up on Ray Bucky's desk. No explanation of how that would have happened, why this ostensibly unconnected preschool teacher got access to the citation books of the same guy who is your own private investigator. And allegedly, when he was asked by the media about this issue, when Paul Bynum was asked about this citation books issue, he actually made a comment to the effect that the prosecution won't ask me about these books because they'd be cutting their own throat. Now, why would the prosecution be harming itself by asking about something that on the surface will only appear to raise questions about Ray Bucky, unless the state and the defendants were in some ways in league or had common interests? Those weird statements by Paul Bynum to the effect that, the state and the defense were both not going to like what he had to say, the state would be cutting its own throat to raise those questions about Ray Bucky,
right,
in my opinion, is strongly suggestive of some kind of collusion between the prosecutors and the Buckies to ultimately protect the bigger picture. And Paul Bynum, of course, turned up dead, an alleged suicide on the day he was supposed to testify.
Forgot about that. You had mentioned that this week. Yeah, that is a very damning detail.
Yeah, and the whole issue of the citation books gets weirder because of the fact that one of the cases Bynum worked on when he was an Hermosa Beach police officer was the murder, the 1976 murder of a woman named Karen Klaas, Klaas, who had been murdered right after dropping her kid off at McMartin Preschool.
And, what the hell? Yeah.
And then her husband, years later, soon after the McMartin case was opened in the 80s, her husband then, died in an accident, like a vehicle accident. And what's weird about the whole Karen Klaas thing is that Paul Bynum had initially developed a suspect who was a firefighter in the area, and they had even gotten one of the witnesses who talked about a person who was stalking Karen Klaas to identify this firefighter as the person who had been stalking her in the days before the murder. However, they found that this firefighter supposedly had an alibi, indicating they couldn't have been there because he was doing his taxes with an accountant, and it would later turn out that this tax accountant also did the books for the McMartin Preschool.
Right. Yeah, you told me about that one too. That's, again, fairly damning.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course there was abuse. The children told me.
Do you think there's anything weird about the Nation journalist Alexander Cockburn basically accusing the kids of lying? I don't know anything about Cockburn.
Heard them, and you and the entire justice system are trying to stop them from telling the truth.
Well, I don't blame you for not wanting to face reality, Miss McFarland. Because the reality is this. You didn't listen to these children. You closed your ears to the truth that they were so desperately trying to tell you. And you ended up implanting instead in their fertile imaginations a memory of something that never happened.
Why would I do that?
Oh, he was with Counterpunch?
That's totally a real thing.
That's, yeah. I
What,
didn't know it was
Cockburn?
yeah. I didn't
No,
know
there
it
was.
Counterpunch.
Yeah, Cockburn's an interesting. One of the funny things about Cockburn, that he was one of the most vehement guys at Counterpunch who was like saying, if you believe 9/11's an inside job, you're totally nuts. If you believe the 2004 election was stolen for Bush, you're nuts. All these, he was anti-conspiracy down the line, but then, like, weirdly enough, the only thing he was willing to talk about was the dancing Israelis stuff on 9/11. No other 9/11 conspiracy stuff he was ever willing to talk about. So it seems like, I don't know why he was only able to talk about that stuff, but he's generally been a very vehement anti-conspiracy voice on the left, or what passes for the left.
I mean, I've always thought that the dancing Israelis story was, like, maybe not necessarily fake, but definitely planted and given prominence on purpose to support certain narratives that lead towards anti-Semitism. Because
Yeah, I
it helps
agree
out
with
Israel.
you. I mean, yeah, I would say that my opinion tends to. I mean, the dancing Israelis, obviously, these were Israeli intelligence operatives. I think the way that they behaved was so egregious that it almost seems like the goal was to get caught and become this big story that, sucks a lot of the air out of the room, and ironically even distracts from other signs of Mossad involvement, and of course fuels the idea that what happened on 9/11 was primarily an Israeli thing, when it was clearly a partnership between many state actors, but ultimately happened within the U.S. and could not have happened without the involvement of the U.S. government. So it is funny that and actually, I mean, what's funny, he also was, for some reason, promoting this story on the anthrax, the 2001 anthrax attacks, where he was talking about this guy, Dr. Philip Zach, who is a good suspect, but for some reason, he just made the claim that Dr. Philip Zach was Jewish, which is not true. He was actually Catholic. So,
oh God.
Yeah, so for some reason, he's only willing to push the really, leaning into anti-Semitic variants of conspiracy theories, but not any of the broader and more credible pictures. And he is, of course, the person who, wrote a horrendous article for, I think, The Nation. It was like McMartin. It's like, indict the children, jail the parents, or something. That was the headline.
Well, of course they would have really loved to be able to do that because that's what they did with Franklin. But I don't think that. I think there was too much of an national eye on this case to treat the witnesses the same way that they did in Franklin.
Yeah, and considering you're talking about they were preschool aged or preteen kids at this time. They
Oh,
weren't,
yeah.
You could get away with saying, "Oh, Alicia Owen in her 20s, she was lying," but it's a bit harder to get. A bit obviously wouldn't have been accepted, but the fact that he was willing to publish an article like that is still just obscene.
I do think, though, that there is a possibility that they may have pushed to jail the parents if there wasn't as much attention on this case.
I wouldn't be surprised. I
It's
mean, you
just-
could see.
Oh, no, you go.
Yeah, I mean, you could see earlier in this movie that they were bringing up this, one of these parents who was talking about how the, authorities were in on the child pornography ring and was pressuring them, trying to do his own investigation. And there was some of that going on. And I think, Alex Constantine has some chapters on McMartin that, appear to be drawing from, information that parents who sort of undertook citizen investigations of their own told him. So there was some of that. And I do believe that at some level, they would have liked to retaliate against these parents if they could have. So I think you're right about that.
Just what they did to what we can speculate that they did to certain witnesses too.
Well, yeah. I mean, so Judy Johnson, for example, that she, of course, is depicted here apparently dying of this alcohol, basically alcohol poisoning. What's curious, and this goes back to what I was saying before, this idea that the witch hunt side, the debunker side, is allowed to get away with its own conspiracy theories, as long as they don't bring up the conspiracy of the broader child abuse conspiracy. And it's this very interesting double standard that seems to surface quite a bit. And there was this group of couple, Paul and Shirley Eberly, who ran some child pornography magazines back in the 70s, and then later showed up as citizen journalists debunking what happened at McMartin. They had written a book. Yeah, it is awful, but that's what pretty much any false memory person is like. They'd written this book about McMartin, and they had done some, on-the-ground journalism. And in their book, they actually make, some of the same conspiracy claims that you find in places like Alex Constantine's work and you find in Program to Kill, claiming that all these people were murdered. And they claim that Paul Bynum was murdered. They claim that Judy Johnson was murdered. They say that, supposedly she died of alcohol poisoning, but there's no sign that she actually had that kind of problem with alcohol. So they're claiming all of these murders of witnesses and people who are involved in the case. They're just claiming that it was the prosecutors who murdered them to cover up how weak their case was.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but it's funny that even in the sources that are supposed to be credible and acceptable, as far as the debunking the witch hunt narrative, even those to some extent will argue the conspiracy angle of this. So just think of that the next time someone's trying to call you a conspiracy kook for believing that some of these people at McMartin involved in the case were murdered.
Yeah. They believe in their conspiracies too. It's just they have their acceptable conspiracies. That's what like Russiagate is essentially.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, Banana asked, did McGowan ever talk about the church? You should read his article about Jesus on his website. That's pretty good.
Yes.
Put us back up.
Well, I don't know why, Miss McFarland. I do know that Mr. Satz came along, didn't he? And then you suddenly became the Joan of Arc of the children's movement.
Your Honor.
You were the champion of children's rights, their savior.
Mr. Davis.
Maybe it all went to your head. Maybe the power trip was too much to resist.
Your Honor.
What power trip?
A halo around your head on Oprah every afternoon at 3. You were on a roll, weren't you? Did it
Your
feel
Honor,
fabulous?
objection.
Did it feel just
Mr. Davis.
great?
That's enough. Objection sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no more questions.
Yeah, that was the second reference for Joan of Arc.
Raymond Bucky has now spent 5 years in jail without bail, a new record in California history, which has generated criticism in legal
Gotta
circles.
moderate, Katie.
But today, in a major defense victory, Judge
Billy already
Pounders
doxed
has
you.
granted him that bail and placed him in the custody of his attorney, Daniel Davis.
I mean, it's all George. Night. Rest up.
Ray, come on, Ray, speak to us. Ray, what's up to the people here for you, Ray? Come on, how's it feel?
Come on, Mr. Bucky, you know you're a pedophile. You can't cut it with anyone but children because you can make them do anything you want. Please answer the question, Mr. Bucky.
Stop it, I can't take this anymore.
All right. Cool down. This is the kind of crap that they're going to keep shoveling at you all day long tomorrow. And you've got to look every one of those jurors in the eye, Ray. You keep looking away from them. I need you to connect with every single one of them.
George, Katie says that you sound like Busta Rhymes.
I can't do that.
Why not? What are you afraid of?
I just spent the last 5 years in jail.
I
don't know how to behave anymore. I mean, here's this woman who tells lies about me and puts my mother behind bars and then rips the skin off me every chance she gets. How do I know I'm not just going to jump out of the witness box and strangle her or burst into tears?
Because that's exactly what she wants you to do.
Until Busta Rhymes gets the Diddy treatment.
Okay, you've told me what you're afraid of. You want to know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid that I'm just a back alley lawyer. I represent drug dealers and scumbags for a living. I'm afraid Lyle Rubin and Ira Reiner and the entire DA's department is just going to eat me alive. But I've got one thing they haven't got, Ray.
The funny thing about the drug dealer mention, I think one of our sort of mutuals in the parapolitical Twitter space, the Wub, had actually posted a thread about McMartin years back and pointed out that Danny Davis's clients had previously been very wealthy people specifically who were accused of drug crimes. So maybe that has some relevance on the network involved in the McMartin case too.
I would say that sounds like it has some relevance somewhere. I mean, like, you saw the mansion they had him hold up in. That doesn't come from representing lowlifes, like you say.
Right.
I've got you. And the only thing you've got is me. So tomorrow I'm going to swallow my fear and I'm going to get up there and I'm going to fight him. And you're going to tell him something they haven't heard in that courtroom yet in this trial, Ray.
And this is SoCal, so like property's hella expensive too.
Tell them the truth. And the jury is either going to believe us or they aren't, son. If they believe us, Ray, you're going to be a free man. And if they don't...
Yeah.
You understand?
I understand.
Mr. Bucky, you've heard all these children accuse you of sodomizing them.
Of killing animals. Of threatening to kill their parents if they told anyone. Were all these children lying?
This is like Law and Order music.
Not all of them.
What do you mean, not all of them?
Well, I think some of the children were led to believe these things happened.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Granted.
Do you guys think the McMartins had compromise on people? Probably. I mean, like, my general thought with the existence of rings always is that they have compromising material on other people. What are your thoughts, George?
I mean, I think they probably can't function without that. And I mean, similarly, if they didn't, they probably would have just tried to throw them to the wolves and minimize the case as much as possible. The same way that they do to various other pedophiles when they get caught up in a bigger network. I think that probably some members of the McMartin family were smart enough to keep around some protection that ensured that the authorities and everyone else involved in the ring had to protect them too.
Yeah.
Do you recognize these pictures? What's the matter? You afraid of them? Look at them, pick them up. Will you tell the jury what's on the first one, please?
It's a picture of a man giving oral sex to a woman.
I also have to say, like, presenting evidence of porn of adults in your case about prosecuting child abuse is a surefire way to dynamite your case on purpose.
Why did you keep it?
Yeah.
Self-gratification.
You masturbated with them, did you not? Will you tell the jury how you did that, please?
What do you mean?
Isn't it true that you pasted this to the window of your apartment and masturbated on the bed in a position where people in the street could see you as they walked by?
No, that's not true.
That's not what two of your neighbors said.
You can't see into my bedroom from the street.
Do you think a person who does this should work at a preschool?
I don't think it has anything to do with the preschool.
Then why did you tear this up when the police came? Why did you flush it down the toilet?
This is Indictment, the McMartin Trial story.
I was afraid of what
so
they might make.
We're talking about the narrative that it presents and how a lot of it is not factual.
Out of it.
What might they make out of it?
what you're trying to make out of it now.
Isn't it true that you regularly sat facing the wading pool at the preschool in your shorts without any underwear with your genitals exposed to the children?
No, that isn't true.
The Robbie
I didn't wear
McMartin
underwear,
shorts.
but my shorts came halfway down my thighs.
You're a normal, heterosexual, typical young man.
About that, there were multiple kids who independently said, and even in disclosures before CIA got involved, we're just talking disclosures to the police back in like September of '83, talking about how, specifically how they noticed that Ray didn't wear underwear, and they saw his penis, which, if it was supposedly as normal and well protected as he says, I don't think that would be something that more than one kid would comment on. And there's also the fact that specifically in Virginia McMartin's diary, she's the grandmother of Ray Bucky, she makes reference in her diary to an incident of one kid at the preschool touching Ray's penis. So, again.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's something I was going to say. I forgot it halfway through your point, George. I apologize.
Bucky?
I don't know if there is such a thing, Miss Rubin.
Oh, the idea of not wearing underwear to your job around kids. And this is coming from someone who teaches, and I wear a full suit to work every day. And I am still mortified by the idea of not wearing underwear. What if your fly is unzipped and you don't notice it? That's insane. It's an insane person thing to do. The fact that they're making this out to be no big deal is psychotic to me as somebody that works in teaching. Yeah, I wear 5 pairs of underwear. That's right, Billy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, there is so much about Ray that even getting past, before you get to the child abuse accusations, that he just should not have been a teacher at the school. I mean, like, the fact that he, not wearing underwear to the point where multiple children could see his penis, the, behavioral issues that he had, that there were accounts of him abusing alcohol, day drinking, abusing mushrooms as well, that he would violently yell outside of his house, throw temper tantrums in front of everyone. As mentioned before, although he tried to say that his neighbors were lying, multiple neighbors attested to him masturbating with the windows open in full view of people on the street as they walked by. And the stuff about not wearing underwear, actually, it wasn't just at the school, but also he coached a girls' soccer team. And there were complaints from the parents of these kids as well, 11, 12-year-old girls, who were also complaining about the fact that he didn't wear underwear and his genitals were exposed. And then, of course, there's the fact, as I mentioned earlier as well, that he was known to read Playboy in the school while he had kids sitting on his lap.
Billy says that Stephen Avery, from Making a Murderer, swore he didn't even own underwear. I'm starting to notice connecting details.
That the only gratification you have ever had or ever will have is with these children, Mr. Bucky? That you are incapable of having satisfactory sex with a grown woman?
Yeah, like he never should have been working with kids. It's insane.
I may have done some stupid things in my life. And I am far from perfect, but I have never had sex with a child. I've never hurt a child. And I have had satisfactory sex with a grown woman, Miss Rubin.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an interest
That'd be a sister.
Sure. It's interesting that he doesn't say I never exposed myself to a child when he's on the stand. I just put it out there. Not even in the movie. He doesn't say it.
Pyramids, Mr. Bucky?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Overruled.
What are pyramids?
They're supposed.
No, this movie was supporting the narrative that McMartin. There was no conspiracy with McMartin. There was no real molestation or anything going on.
Supposed to have a positive effect on living things. It helps you sleep if you put one over your bed. It's just a fad.
Did you fly to a convention where pyramids were sold?
Objection. Your Honor, I think we'd better approach if we may, please.
Very well.
Your Honor, I must object. Miss Rubin is trying to convert pyramids into pentagrams and turn my client into Dracula.
Okay. I'm not the huge expert on esoterica here, but the idea that there's not a connection between pyramids and pentagrams is horseshit. I'm just putting it out there. The same people that get into the shit with pyramids fall into the esoteric fascism that has swastikas and pentagrams too.
And what I can say about the whole pyramid power thing, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the things that was being studied by parapsychology groups like Mankind Research Unlimited, which was a CIA front. So
Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't
there
know
is
that.
yeah. So I mean, this occult stuff, yes, you can't conflate every occult thing with Satanism, but to claim that there's never an overlap is also false.
Right.
Peggy Bucky is a caring teacher. Would a caring person allow somebody who abuses drugs and flies off to pyramid conventions to work at her school? Objection overruled. Continue.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
Granted.
Is this a picture of you at a convention holding a pyramid?
Yes.
You see the woman on the right-hand side of the photograph?
Yes.
Who is Diana Sullivan?
I told you about her. We had an affair.
She told two investigators otherwise.
Oh, or yeah.
I don't see what it matters whether or not I slept with her.
Well, I think the DA is going to bring her here and get her to tell the jury that you don't have sex with women. And it's going to hurt us, Ray.
I don't think she'll do that.
Oh, really? Why is that? Because what, you become a secret stud all of a sudden? Ray?
I don't think she'll do that.
Miss Sullivan, did you ever tell someone in 1984 that you had never had sex with Raymond Bucky?
Yes.
Who was it?
My fiance. And to the investigators that interviewed me 7 years ago.
And why did you tell them that?
Because I wanted to protect my reputation and my marriage.
And in the last few weeks, did some people associated with Miss Rubin's office come and visit you at your home in Montana?
He lost the glasses halfway
Yes.
through the movie, like an early 2000s teen girl comedy. That's right, Sinklord. Exactly.
Would you tell us what they did, please?
They
He had
wanted to
his
speak to me
makeover
about my
moment.
testimony. They questioned me in front of my children. My kids thought I was going to go to jail.
What did they want?
They wanted assurances that I would testify that I never had sex with Mr. Bucky.
And did you and Raymond Bucky, in fact, have sexual relations?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Would you describe yourself as promiscuous?
No, I really don't think so.
Have you been enjoying the publicity you've been getting from this trial?
No. I know my children are going to read about it in the paper.
Did you have any difficulty having sex?
Shocked.
with
Well, not
Mr.
that
Bucky?
shocked.
How do you mean difficult?
Was it necessary to orally copulate Mr. Bucky in order to have sex with him?
No.
Didn't you tell that to investigators?
No, I did not.
Are you sure?
It's not the language I would have used.
What language would you have used, Ms.
Oh, Dildo pointed it out. Spiral brooch.
Sullivan?
I would have said head.
This is Mr. Bucky's 7th day on the stand. Miss Rubin has gotten the allegedly most notorious child molester in history to reveal that he did not wear underwear, that he smoked marijuana, that he believed in pyramid power, and was a virgin until 24. But there seems to be little connection to the case that claimed 400 child molestations and launched nationwide hysteria.
Were these items found in your room, Mr. Bucky?
Yes.
You've been interested in pornography for a long time, haven't you? How old were you when you drew this picture?
I was about 11.
Don't you think this is rather sophisticated for a boy that age?
I used to pick up Playboy magazines and copy from those.
You drew pubic hair there, didn't you?
This is like the Dennis Reynolds drawing naked women bit from Always Sunny.
I drew nipples there too, see?
Yeah, the Dennis drawings.
Let's talk about pyramids again. Are these your books?
Yes.
Do you think it's normal for a man your age to believe in pyramids?
Well, I laugh about it now.
You laugh about it now, but you weren't laughing about it then.
No, I guess I wasn't.
Do you see an item on this table called a radome?
Yeah, but that's just what it's called. It has nothing to do with me.
That's not what I asked you. Isn't it true that a radome is supposed to have 40 times the effectiveness of a regular pyramid?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation as to the wattage of the radome.
Are these delightful items yours, Mr. Bucky?
The movie is pretty
Whose are
insane.
They're my sister's.
Who bought them for her?
Whoa!
Her boyfriend's
Whoa!
father.
What was it doing in your room there, bud?
Is this your doll collection?
No.
Whose is it?
It's my mother's.
Modine is sus. We've talked about it before.
She kept them for her nieces to play with.
Now, what is this?
It's a pyramid hat.
A pyramid hat. Like this?
It's backwards.
Oh man, so much of a trial is just like fucking theatrics. I swear to God.
Mr. Bucky, is it possible that pyramid power drove you to molest children?
No.
Is it possible that pyramid power blanked out your mind so you forgot horrible events, like molesting children?
No.
Is it possible you never molested children at all?
Yes.
Look the jury in the eye and answer this question. Did you ever molest a child?
No. Not working out?
The jury came in.
What you just heard?
No, I heard last night. They're reading the verdict at the opening of session this morning. They're hung on 13 counts, Ray.
Was that good
George Dildo is explaining what the TV show Seinfeld is to you.
or bad?
Your mother's charged with 13
Never heard of it before.
counts. So if they're hung on her, it's not so good for you, is it? Could be just a coincidence. And it's not the end of everything. I can keep you out on bail, I think. We'll appeal. We have grounds for appeal, I think. I'm sorry, Ray. I never thought 12 people would believe this. I wasn't good enough.
Oh, hey. You did your best.
This is my favorite thing about lawyers. Oh man, you're gonna go to jail. This sucks for me.
You did the best you
Right. Especially this sleazebag.
Oh yeah.
Acting so depressed.
I always knew this was the way it was gonna go. I'll survive.
You have reached 52 verdicts?
We have, Your Honor.
If we present those forms to the bailiff, the court will read the verdicts.
It was an HBO film, but it is credited as being what changed the public consensus on the case. Banana. That didn't have a box office per se, but it had a public, it had an influence on the public. That's
Clerk will read
interesting.
the
I
verdict.
didn't really draw the comparison to the HBO doc about the West Memphis 3. These are both HBO releases too.
In the case of the people of the state of California versus Raymond Bucky and Peggy McMartin Bucky, we, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendants Peggy McMartin Bucky and Raymond Charles Bucky not guilty of crimes of lewd acts with children under the age of 14 in violation of Penal Code Section 288A, felony.
Is this your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
So say one, so say you all.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does the prosecution wish to have the jury polled? I should like to thank the members of the jury for your participation in this most important case.
Incredibly happy.
Yeah, oh brother, this guy stinks. That classic sound clip. From Mrs. Dotfire in the Oubliette.
It's over. I used to watch you, wondering what you must be thinking, how hard it was on you. I saw you wipe away a tear once in a while, but it didn't happen very often.
We read your mother's diaries. That school was your life. You loved kids. We could all see that.
I'm not bitter. I was
This
raised
is insane.
not to be bitter.
They get to take this little victory lap at the end. There's 11 minutes
We lost
left.
everything. We don't have
I mean,
anything.
what's funny too is that they weren't acquitted on everything. There were many charges that the jury hung on, and
Yeah.
there was a retrial. I don't know if they're going to get to that, but clearly did not acquit them of everything. There was still one outstanding conspiracy charge against Peggy, and several abuse charges outstanding against Ray.
Do you know when those went to trial? Was it
It
before?
was a couple months later. So
Okay.
this was January. They showed like January of 1990 when the verdict came down in the first trial, but then there
Yeah.
was a second trial a couple months after that.
So they could have used it. It's not like they were on a time crunch to get this out.
I mean, they're still. I don't know if they're gonna get into that. There's still what, like you said, 11 minutes.
11 minutes. Yeah, we'll see.
Do you think they'll try your client again on the hung 13
They'll probably do the. Oh, here we
counts?
If they put those
There we
children
go.
through this again, it will be the biggest molestation of all. I think everyone agrees that justice was done here at last.
Shut up, dude.
Yeah. Fuck you, dude.
Today we're investigating the McMartin outrage.
Oh, this motherfucker.
No.
Does it?
Yeah.
We've watched it before. I basically just to say that I hate the guy.
Spelled the doom.
Me too, but it is actually important though that because I've read the transcript of this Geraldo show that had the kids on, many of the McMartin kids on it talking about the verdict, and these are kids who at this point were, they were preteens, they were 10 years old, some of them were even 14 years old, 18 years old, all of them at that age, well past the point when they could supposedly be tricked into some false story. We're standing behind their claims of abuse. We're even talking explicitly about how some of them still were living in fear or had nightmares or were actually driven to tears when they recounted their abuse. So this is actually, say what you will about Geraldo, the guy sucks, but the kids on this program are standing up and saying that there's no doubt that they were abused, and they stand by their stories even after the acquittal. And that's one of the things that gets completely swept under the rug as far as the McMartin case. They would have you believe that all these children were, essentially just strong-armed into saying a certain story, and that you couldn't find any in the present day who still believe they were abused. And many of these children still maintain it, and some of them have maintained it even up until this day.
That's actually that does not surprise me, because his coverage, his other big satanic special that we watched on here, there was some very, very good information in it, but it was just sandwiched between all this utter bullshit about these very individualized cases that were not really connected to anything. They were just like a couple youths that had like some Metallica t-shirts and like shanked someone. But then in between that, you would get these mentions of these large networks of satanic organized crime, and it's like, and then on top of that, he had Aquino on and did not press him on Presidio, even repeatedly mentioning that he'd been cleared of all charges because he didn't want to get sued by him. So like, there's he's simultaneously doing a lot of good things in the coverage. I mean, it's a shitcode operation. Like, you get this good information and you present it next to all of this information that is horseshit.
I mean, yeah, Geraldo is the original shitcoder, almost.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that there were some good tidbits in there. There were some good tidbits in his other coverage too. It's just overall he's a force for evil.
Right.
I could not do what
Justice
this jury has
system
done.
may have been served today, but justice was not.
Children said it. All right, they were
Wake up,
right.
America. This is your
Despite
wake-up
the
call.
shocking, painful,
There are some really upset and angry parents
against the
here.
2 remaining defendants. Despite
We have a network of parents all over America. These charges will be filed again.
slap in the face.
Feelings are running very high in the courthouse.
This doesn't diminish what those children have lived through or will have to face for the rest of their lives.
Children and who hoodwinked our legal system.
Yeah, Bob Hardy.
We have reached a decision to have a second trial on the McMartin case.
We're glad you could come. We'd like to talk to you about something I think you'll be happy about.
Where's Ruben?
She's no longer on the case. She has to be reassigned to Santa Monica.
Couldn't have anything to do with the New York Times calling some of her behavior sleazy and some of her remarks unprofessional.
Let's get to the business at hand. We'd like to spare the county the expense of going through this thing again. Enough money has been spent, so he
You
just
looked at the tapes. You finally looked at the tapes, didn't you?
Now, we haven't spoken to Reiner about this. We'd have to make a hard sell, you understand?
Bullshit, okay? We wouldn't all be sitting here if you hadn't already talked to Reiner. He's running for Attorney General. All you need is to lose again, and you're looking for a way out. So, what's the deal?
I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I would personally urge Reiner to accept a no-low plea.
Let me run it by my client. You don't have to plead guilty, okay? See, you can just say that you're taking the deal because it's too good to turn down. You take 1 count on each child, and that's it. No time.
Doesn't that mean I'm saying I'm guilty?
No, it means you're saying, I'm taking the deal because it's too good to turn down.
That's it. That's all.
And you have to register with the police.
Register as what?
That you're a sex offender. Do you want to go up and take this crapshoot again?
I'm sure as hell I'm not gonna let them win without going to trial.
Oh, Joe, we can't go through another trial, Ray, and you know it.
You speak for yourself.
Don't even think about it. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'm burned out. And you can't take any more. I remember you were gonna put a shiv through your ear. You were gonna hang yourself with your shoelaces in your jail cell. So don't say another
so
trial.
I thought about killing myself. Okay, but never. Not once. Not in my worst time. Now listen to me.
He was just saying that in case they needed to cover up some loose ends.
Danny, not once did I ever think of giving them what you want me to give them now. No way. I'm not putting on a piece of paper that I'm a pedophile. Never.
Ray, they say it ain't over till the fat lady sings. I think she's already sung.
Thanks. Hey, how are you, Danny?
Is it a popular movie? I don't think it's super popular.
Ray, how do you feel about going through another trial?
Fine, he feels fine
The
about
DA
it.
wants to make me a deal. He
Ray.
wants me to let them off the hook. I turned it down.
Ray.
Just a second.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Come on, right over here. Here we go.
I made a deal with Martinez to keep this under wraps.
It's too late.
Hi.
Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. We'll finish this and then we'll talk tunnels. Yeah, that's how I make money. It's a good deal. All right, let's finish this. Last 7 minutes.
Did you try to cut a deal with Ray Bucky?
Never, not in a million years. We wouldn't offer Ray Bucky a deal in his wildest dreams. Thank you. Good day.
Do it.
He's lying his ass off.
What?
I said he's lying his ass off. Mr. Martinez is a liar. I had a meeting with him. I tape recorded the meeting. Perhaps you'd all like to hear it.
I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I would personally urge Reiner to accept a no-low plea.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
You were right. The fat lady had another song in her after all.
The director does not, the writer does. The writer did an Atlanta child killer movie.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Atlanta child killings
have you
movie.
reached a verdict?
We have been unable to come to a conclusion on any of these 9 counts. We are irrevocably deadlocked and will never come to a conclusion.
The McMartin case is finally over after 7 years and $15 million and without a single conviction.
It's odd, isn't it? 7 years and then in 1 minute, it's over. It's so strange.
Well, it isn't over. Not for me. Something like this hits you. You don't start your life over again so easily. Not at my age. Not when most of it's gone.
What do you mean? You're just gonna retire?
We don't mean to sound ungrateful, Danny. We are grateful.
I know.
But this thing is going to stay with us.
People have short memories. There's another astounding headline in the papers, another case on TV. People forget.
Look,
Yeah, we've already forgotten.
What is your problem, huh? You want to say it to my face?
Child molesters, you see? They don't forget. And they don't care that they've ruined our lives. And not just ours, the parents, the children. How come God didn't stop it?
Oh, no, don't blame God. What happened to us was all the work of people. God wasn't let into it. Who had the time to stop and listen to God? They were all too busy watching television.
Actually, the Times review of it was somewhat critical. It's interesting.
I mean, there were definitely some reviewers who saw that this movie was obviously one-sided. And, I mean, when you think about it, like, if you read between the lines of what shows up here, there are obviously questions that are unanswered. You know, if these charges were so spurious, there was nothing to them, why would a jury deadlock twice and be unable to acquit him? Clearly,
Right.
there was something that led them to believe that. And, you know, after the trials, the jurors did say they adamantly believed that these kids at McMartin had been abused. They just, you know, there wasn't enough to convince them beyond a reasonable doubt about Ray Bucky or the others being involved in it. And a part of that is the medical evidence, as mentioned. And I don't think there's barely a word about the medical evidence in this film at all. And yet, when it was at trial, it was some of the most definitive and uncontested evidence to show up in the case. And obviously, when they're pushing an agenda here, that's why it gets left out. But when you leave it out, you don't ask, you know, why they had to go through 2 trials, why they couldn't acquit Ray Bucky even after 2 attempts to do that. So,
I
yeah,
would
clearly
say, in fact, it minimizes the physical evidence. It talks about, like, redness around the bottom or genital areas, but it doesn't talk about things like scarring that were present.
Exactly. And yeah, that's what they tried to say. Oh yeah, Judy Johnson's complaining because there was some redness on her on her son's anus, and again, trying to make these parents and everyone involved out to be hell bent on finding abuse. With Judy Johnson, in fact, she had initially thought that it was probably something like pinworms. She didn't even think about the possibility of abuse until months later, when her kid was still having these problems, then made a statement about Ray Bucky taking his temperature rectally.
That's right.
It
I
wasn't
forgot about that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so trying to, again, make the entire inception of this case much less than it actually is, to the point where they're leaving out entire major chunks of the evidence. And yeah, it is one-sided, certainly. And yet you have the people like Dorothy Rabinowitz who say that say that this is such a factual look at the case that it's almost like you were watching a documentary about McMartin.
Right. No, exactly. Who's Dutton? You mean Detroit? Because Detroit and McMartin are like within a chapter of each other in PTK, but I don't think there's a connection. They're just like next to each other in the book. Yeah, no, they're just next to each other in the book. I mean, you could what George was saying about Denmark, but that was Belgium, so it's not like there's no connection. I mean, other than possible like European networks of child abuse.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's somehow linked up, but yeah, I'm not aware of anything specific.
Weird how they all still live together.
Oh yeah, I should actually talk about that. This one where Peggy Ann, yeah, she had to go through this like whole hearing process to get her teaching credentials back. And at this hearing, apparently, this was talked about on the Geraldo program. One of the parents described how her son, her young son, who would have been preschool aged at the time that this, abuse case was happening, and so by the time of this, revocation hearing would have been probably something like 10 years old. He had to testify about what the inside of a vagina felt like. Something that you would absolutely not expect a kid of this age to know about. So just another one of those horrifying things that these children having sexual knowledge well beyond what they should have had, unless there was abuse happening.
And that's one of the biggest telltale signs of abuse. Like, as educators, I don't work with young kids, so it doesn't apply as much to me, but I still get these conversations, is that's what they tell us to look for in especially young children.
Right.
Heart attack gun.
Yeah. I honestly think so.
I think we've talked about this before. Yeah, it would not surprise me. No, Billy. All right.
I wonder if there's going to be a post-credit scene where they start the False Memory Syndrome Foundation.
Jolly West stuffs out of the shadows. I'm building a team. Let's see. No such luck, George.
It's too bad.
They missed out the sequel opportunity. I guess the one thing that I want to talk about really briefly before we end is the tunnels. We never had a chance to talk about it because they did not show up in the movie at all, and to me, it's one of the most damning pieces of evidence in the whole thing, that just about anything that the kids could have been telling the defense, or not the defense, the prosecution, is true.
Right.
So
Colin, I've talked too much. I think you should take the reins here.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin, Is Colin here?
Colin's here. Tunnels.
Hell yeah. All right. Tell us a little bit about the McMartin tunnels.
So I think it was you who posted the original article by kind of the debunkers of the tunnels, and they had a couple of really interesting arguments that I've never seen before. So just kind of roll. I'll just go through the big ones that I kind of mentioned in that Twitter thread that you linked to. So the first one is the debunkers. They are, first of all, they're psychologists. They're not archaeologists. And their main criticism is that the guy who ended up doing the actual archaeology there, because they had a team come out, and the team who the initial lawyers had come out said, well, there's absolutely no tunnels underneath McMartin. And so a bunch of the families hired E. Gary Stickle to come out and do his own work. And he used what was at the time a new technology, which I think we all know now. It's a ground penetrating radar. It was fairly new back whenever he did this. This was back in 1979.
Okay.
And so the main thing that the psychologists kind of criticize him for is that, well, he used the wrong technology. And so they argue, well, he should have used this other geophysical tool called a resistivity meter. And a resistivity meter has probes that you put into the ground, and it measures electrical current as it goes through different types of soils, conduct electricity differently. The only problem with that is, and he notes it in the report, I'm actually looking at it right now, where it is a concrete slab that he is trying to survey.
That's right.
And so you can't put these probes into concrete. So this entire line of argument is just insane to me, that you should be using this instrument that won't even work.
Right.
And part of it could be the fact that at this point in time, GPR is a new technology, but it had already proven its worth by 1979, and it's primarily one of the instruments that we use quite a bit whenever we do geophysical surveys. So I don't really understand where that is coming from, other than the fact that they're just looking for a way to crap on this guy.
Right.
So the second point that they bring up is how he dates the tunnels. There's a picture, I think it was posted in that Twitter thread, where it's still he's in one of the tunnels. And you can see like there is a top to the tunnel.
Give a link to the thread, Colin. I can pull it up on screen.
I do not have one on top of my head here.
Don't worry about
it. See if I can find it.
But yeah, so it's him crouching in this tunnel, and the argument is the kind of second debunker argument is that these tunnels could have been dug at any point in time.
Right.
But whenever you're looking kind of at the things, he is doing this in a very okay, so he does the GPR survey, and he's like, hey, there's an anomaly underneath the floor of McMartin. And so the concrete is then cut through, and he starts excavating it. And this is your kind of typical excavation where you do it in kind of 10 centimeter chunks. And as he goes down, he's seeing, how these tunnels have been filled in, kind of how the dirt doesn't look the same from the fill as opposed to the naturally occurring dirt that the tunnels were dug into. And as he's going through, he also finds some artifacts. And so he notes that the school was built in 1966, and he finds the pipe from the original school. He has the construction plans for it. He then finds in the fill of the tunnel a bag. It's a Disney lunch bag, and it dates to 1983. So that bag has a very good solid date on it. And what that tells him is that if that bag is in that tunnel fill, then the tunnels were filled sometime after 1983.
Right.
Because they couldn't have been filled before the bag was made.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's called we call it a terminus post quin. It's the latest date that you can have for something. Sorry, early estate. It's been a long day.
No, you're good.
So he has a very good kind of, the tunnels were excavated after 1966 and filled in after 1983.
Where does the 1966 date come from?
That is whenever the school was built.
Oh, okay, that makes
Right.
sense.
So he has this very good bookend, kind of put in there, and the way that as he goes through, he kind of comes to the conclusion that the soil that was used to pack the tunnel back in and the artifacts that were put in there probably occurred sometime in May 1990, which I think is the demolition date, or maybe right before the demolition date of the school. I'm not quite sure.
I used to have that
I have to-
somewhere, but I don't have it with me right
yeah, I
now.
have to go look that one up again.
Yeah.
But that, so he has a very good tight date range, and um, the the debugger argument is never really explained why that 1983 date isn't good. I think they just don't like the idea that it was done off a lunch bag. Um, but
Yeah,
the funny thing is, like, that's how a lot of our work is done. It's just off the stupid artifacts.
right. I
So
would imagine just like whatever the most recent artifact that you can find, even if it's some stupid piece of junk like a lunch bag, is the evidence that you have. I mean, it's
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like one of the things that I like to do whenever we do like big block excavations is I will go to the bank and get a roll of the newest pennies, whatever that year's pennies are.
Mhm.
So whenever we finish excavating, we're about to backfill our units, I'll put one of those in a unit so that if anyone ever digs it out again, they can at least say, "Hey, this is the last time this was, dug up."
Oh, that's smart. That's cool.
So it's like it's a very common thing.
Mhm.
So okay, and then the last one's my favorite one of the debunker arguments. Oh wait, okay, so sorry. Let me go back one. For that second one with the dating of it, they also argue that, well, these actually weren't tunnels, they were trash pits, and that's why there's trash in the pit. But as he's excavating down, you can see it in the photo where he's crouching down the tunnel. The dirt that is above him is the same dirt as what is around him and on the bottom, which means that the tunnel wasn't dug from the top down, it was dug through the dirt with the roof over his head, right?
Right.
If that makes any sense. So he is going through and looking at soil color, soil textures, like all these things that we kind of look for whenever we do excavations. So it is not a trash pit that trash was thrown into. This is an actual tunnel that was backfilled with dirt from somewhere, and that bag got caught in it.
The trash pit claim is coming from the same psychologist that did the debunking, is it not?
It is. It
So
is,
it's
and
like
that's
he's not really qualified to. This is what I find so perplexing to me is that like if you go through Colin and you look at old comments, like I'm talking like maybe over COVID about McMartin online, you will have people linking that study that he did time after time again. And it seems like for the longest time, no one really like I didn't see any real engagement with it. People just ignored it when people posted it. But there's no reason to take that at face value. People should have been arguing about it a long time before now.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. There's a Twitter personality who I think you've touched on a little bit from Weird Twitter and formerly Something Awful forums, a certain trash monkey of some sort, who 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 argued the exact same thing, that, well, this archaeologist actually just doesn't know what he's doing. And so I went through and I read, I think that was the day I went, found the original report, read it, and he said, okay, well, then there's two people who don't know what they're doing. It's interesting that these psychologists have just painted this entire narrative, and it's just stuck with people. I've never seen anything like it before in my life.
Joseph Wyatt was his name. I couldn't think of it. I had to look it up again.
Yes.
And like, this is what I find crazy is like, not only is he like a psychologist, but like he's very vested in. I'm looking at my old thread. He's very vested in behavioral conditioning. Like he worked with Skinner's daughter at West Virginia, WVU, and he wrote a big retrospective on Skinner and behavioral science, and like he's very invested in the idea of manipulating behavior. And he also has assessment of likelihood of a school shooting incident.
Yeah, that's definitely not telling of anything.
Yeah. So I just this guy just like reeks to me. I never did find. I mean, he defends the FMSF's coverage of it in his report, but he doesn't. I thought I found something of a speaking engagement that he had, but I can't find it anymore for them. It wouldn't surprise me if it existed, but I don't see it. So, but I know he defends them in the initial report.
Yeah, somehow that is the least surprising thing about Wyatt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because, the claim that they make against the original archaeologist, Gary Stickle, who did the tunnel excavate, they say, oh yeah, he was hired by the McMartin parents, so he just has a vested interest to conclude whatever they want to hear, but there's no speculation about whether this guy affiliated with false memory syndrome foundation people and, interest in all this mental conditioning shit, whether he might have a vested interest in saying that this case was all made up.
Right. It's all it goes back to what you said about the conspiracies being very one-sided. The one side is allowed to present anything that they would like as a conspiracy because they're the accepted narrative, whereas the other side that gets you like cordoned off in the crazy camp. It's ridiculous the way that it gets presented in the mainstream. I can't find the picture. I know the exact one that you're talking about, Colin, but I can't find it.
Well, so that actually leads me back toward the third thing that the debunkers pull up. You were talking about the conspiracy and vested interest and the such. And the Wyatt makes the argument that Stickle is not a good archaeologist or not a good scientist as a whole, whatever that means, because he believes that humans arrived in North America earlier than 12,000 BC, which is probably one of the funniest lines that you could draw in the sand at whenever Wyatt initially published this stuff, because that stuff changes almost every year. New theories or new sites are being found, new all kinds of everything. And so Stickle made the argument, I would say back 85 or 89, that hey, maybe humans arrived in North America in a couple different migrations, a couple different routes. He argued for a sea route coming down the coast of California. And maybe it wasn't just like crossing the Bering Land Bridge, and maybe it was earlier than 12,000 years. And they tried to crucify him for that.
Yeah.
And he is extremely vindicated now, which is sad because it seems like his reputation took a little bit of a hit for doing this. It doesn't really seem like a lot because he wasn't like, being academically published and all that such. But
right.
It seems like he was kind of shunned out a little bit, and that's probably one of the I've read some of the things that he's written. Some of them are a little bit far out there, but they have come to be true. He's just probably a little bit ahead of his time.
Right.
But that's the one thing that you should, I would not have argued that that exactly, because like I said, that is changing every single day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before I call it quits for the night, because we're almost at 4 hours, do either of you have anything you would like to shill?
I mean, I guess, my website, cavdef.org, CAVDEF.org, is, basically has a wiki with all sorts of information on this case and many other cases. Right now, there's no dedicated McMartin page. It's just buried on the Franklin scandal page, but I have a section from other cases, and McMartin's one of them, and you'll find references for most, if not all, the stuff I've talked about tonight. If you want to check out some of these claims about the case for yourself. If someone happens to be watching and has information about the McMartin case, that such as the identity of that firefighter I mentioned who was a suspect in the Karen Klass case, I'd love for you to contact me. I have the contact information on the website too. So cavdef.org, CAVDEF.org. Yeah.
Send George your money. Everybody in chat is correct. Send George your money. He deserves it. He does a lot of hard work. Colin, anything you would like to say?
No, send George your money.
Send George your money. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, we need some CAVDEF merch, George. Peace. I'm gonna have Angleton play us out as I always do. And I hope everybody has a great day, a great tomorrow. I'll be live again tomorrow evening. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good morning.
Take care.
Oh.
You know the wind is much stronger higher up in the sky where you can't see it and you can't feel it, but it can push around objects much more heavy than I. If you can't believe it, and you best believe it, 'cause there are forces of nature at work on us now that we don't perceive, 'cause we can't perceive them. Yeah, there are forces upon us that we don't perceive, trying to deceive us. Yeah, they just deceive us. You'd better open your eyes up and steady your gaze on reality. It's insanity, and if you don't do it soon, you're gonna wind up another fatality. To banality, you would surrender your life under toil and strife for a vapid dream. What a tragedy. And when it's all over, you wonder, was this all imagining? These fantastic things, so let the wind blow over your head. Let it rake its fingers through the grassy bed. Think the things that cannot be said, not allowed in this world of lies. Let it blow right over our graves, just like it blew over the Pharaoh slaves, cooling them off as they bathe their souls in the Nile.